Gaming news today is covering a lot of different subjects. Ubisoft is facing a very different future, maybe a buyout, maybe being completely dismantled. Steam is allegedly considering making a console, and two games are absolutely exploding over the weekend, both Marvel Rivals and Path of Exile 2. Who could have possibly predicted that these games would be super popular, right? But they're doing very, very well, and it's an exciting way to end the year after everybody's been crying about the gaming is bad and it's dead and it's headed for terribleness, and then we end the year with such a bang. And Indiana Jones and the Great Circle officially releases today. It had a good opening weekend of early access. I mean, the only people could play with just buying it early, basically, and it's got good review scores as well. And so after I walk through these news stories, I will also have some games for your wish list and your radar. So if you're in the live audience, hit that like button. Make sure you're hitting subscribe and the bell button. If you're watching this content later, make sure you're going through all those rituals. It helps support me, and it also makes sure that you won't miss out on the content. And you can support directly with a membership. I know a lot of people on YouTube don't do that, but we do a lot of extra content for the paying members. So make sure you pick the $6 Member Plus. So what is going on with Ubisoft? Well, apparently Ubisoft is headed for trouble in 2025. According to a report from tweaktown.com, their headline says it all. Ubisoft headed towards privatization and dismantling in 2025, industry expert predicts. And they open their article with a too long didn't read summary, and they say, industry expert Joost van Drunen predicts Ubisoft will dismantle by 2025, potentially selling valuable assets like Rainbow Six Siege and Assassin's Creed. And here's some of the things that he has to say. With its share price plummeting from $28 to $12 year over year, the company has become an attractive takeover target. Its valuable assets, particularly Rainbow Six Siege and Assassin's Creed franchise, could be worth more separately than together. And he even had some comments to how Ubisoft games are made and thinks that X-Defiant is an example of this. Ubisoft's development approach remains stubbornly outdated in an era demanding player engagement and community building. Without fundamental shifts in how they develop and maintain games, they risk further alienating both investors and players. The X-Defiant shutdown isn't just another failed launch, it's a symptom of a company that insists on catering to a passive audience while failing to recognize the urgency to rethink distribution. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens. I mean, obviously, this guy's got some pretty strong opinions about Ubisoft and how they've developed games. I, for one, am hoping that Assassin's Creed Shadows can land successfully, because the more I've seen of the gameplay, it looks like a game that I would really enjoy. I also hope that a lot of the IP in the studios at Ubisoft can survive this. Ubisoft has a long-standing list of catalog of games. Really good IP. They've been in the market for a very long time. Rainbow Six, The Division, Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, and The Crew. That's just to name some of the stuff that is the most recognizable. So we'll keep an eye on this. We'll report on any developments, anything that might end up happening with this. It is obviously a developing story that they may just end up getting purchased or completely dismantled. So the other thing that wasn't really something I expected to see, and I don't have a trailer to put up for this, is that we could be getting a Steam console. According to Insider Gaming, they said the following with an article. They said rumors pointing to a new Steam console from Valve. In their article, they report the following. Valve appears to be developing a new standalone Steam console for players. According to recent rumors and findings from various Valve data miners, the Washington-based company is working on a new traditional system known as Fremont, or Fremont. I guess I would say it Fremont, but there's only one E. This would be along with a Steam Controller 2 and Deckard VR headset. Now, according to the data miner, it would not be something like a dock for the Steam Deck. I think a lot of people were just assuming, oh, it's probably something for the Steam Deck. And this is what they had to say. All references to Fremont ensure checks for a full-size HDMI Type A port that you would see on TV-focused consoles and other desktop computers. They don't have a dedicated GPU with its own HDMI ports. So Insider Gaming concluded with an interesting observation. They said Valve has not commented on any of the rumors, and as such, everything here should be taken with a grain of salt until it's confirmed. It's worth noting, however, that the company is approaching the 10-year anniversary of when it released its first Steam controller, and Steam machines. So they are about to have that 10-year anniversary. I honestly would love a Steam console. There are so many fun little indie games and fun little co-op games. It would really simplify trying to play those games in my living room, and I wouldn't need to worry about having a PC out there. I would like to see Steam change its family sharing policy. A lot of these online co-op games that I would get, I would need 2 Steam machines for. You can't play them at the same time with family sharing like I can with my PlayStation. So that's the one thing I would like to see change with Steam. I do like their co-op games. They have a lot of indie co-ops, and if it's not local co-op, then I'd have to buy the game twice if I wanted to play it with my wife. Now, if the price is right and performance was solid, I actually would probably buy 2 of these just to have more couch co-op games at the push of a button. So we'll see if Steam is indeed going to release a console. That'd be kind of crazy, but you know, they might see a vacancy in the market. A lot of people think that with Xbox seemingly drifting out of hardware and console space, Steam could be wanting to get back out there and take another crack at it. The other thing that happened over the weekend, unless you were living under a rock, we had 2 enormous games launch. Both Marvel Rivals and Path of Exile 2 had really, really great opening weekends. Path of Exile 2 surpassed 500,000 concurrent players just on Steam alone. I remember people thinking like, oh, are they even going to get, 1 million concurrent players? Well, they had over 500,000 just on Steam. Marvel Rivals was not far behind. Their players peaked on Steam. Their new record is 480,000. And NetEase has reported they've already hit 10 million players in the first 3 days. Now, I even discovered that you have to do something with Path of Exile. So let me put them up on the screen right now. Okay, Path of Exile 2 has an input latency issue that a lot of people were running into, and then others were like, it's running perfectly fine. So I put a video out on Twitter showing how bad it was, and people were like, good gracious, what's going on? So I had some people making recommendations on things to change. Somebody thought it was like a dead zone controller thing, which that's not what it was. There is a setting in the game before you pick your character, before you get into the game. So don't pick your character, don't go in, don't load up anything. Right there on the menu screen when you first get in, it's like the title screen basically. Hit the options, go into general, and change your gateway to the closest server to you. Don't leave it on auto. I think on auto, it's just throwing you into the quickest server they can get you into, which isn't necessarily the closest. It's probably just based on like availability and slots because there were so many people trying to get in. And so as soon as I changed that, my input latency went away. Now for me, I never thought to check something like this because lag or being on a bad server, it typically leads to things like rubber banding or weird hitches. Maybe enemies are delayed or the numbers on the enemy are delayed. I've never had lag give me such egregious input latency. It was a very interesting experience for me. Input latency is usually a cause of the controller or the game or the monitor or it's not synced up or something, but it was happening both on my TV and on my monitor in my office. So if you're having that experience in Path of Exile 2, make that change and it will help. So thank you to everybody on Twitter who had suggestions on how to fix it. Now I just need a suggestion on who my wife could play as because we want her to have a fun time with it. I need her to get a very, very casual starting character. The mercenary seemed like it was a little bit too complicated with changing ammunition and stuff. I actually kind of wanted to play as the mercenary instead of the monk after I watched her play for a little bit. But it is interesting to see both of these games come out swinging. Somebody made the observation this morning that both of these games are very, very clear and direct targets at established Blizzard Activision IP. Obviously, Marvel Rivals is very much inspired by and modeled after Overwatch, and Path of Exile 2 is certainly taking aim at that Diablo 4 crowd and people that like those types of games. So it's very, very interesting to see these two games explode over the weekend, and they are very, very clear targets or at least inspiration points of established IP already in the market. Now, Path of Exile 2 is in a little bit of a different spot because it is just in early access. It is got an 82% on Steam, a 90% on PlayStation. It doesn't have a great score on Xbox, but that sometimes is just because everybody's angry about the servers and giving it a bad score. What's incredible is just how much there is to play and experience in Path of Exile 2. This is not even the whole game. Somebody was asking this morning how long it will be in early access. I'm not sure if they've given an exact date. I would imagine at the very least 6 months, maybe a year. There are going to be more classes and things added at launch as well. I believe like 6 more playable classes, something insane like that. Like, this is such a massive amount of content in early access. So I need advice. Leave comments below, and leave comments below or in my chat on who should I have my wife start out as. And one more thing here before I get to the games for your wish list and your radar. It is the Game Awards week, okay? The Game Awards will be this Thursday. We will be co-streaming it, and we're already getting some leaks springing up. Apparently, a new South of Midnight trailer will be at the event, and it will reveal that game is releasing in March of 2025. Now, I hope this one is true, because South of Midnight's one of the ones I'm looking forward to next year. And Xbox could start the year very, very strong. Now, I'm not interested in Avowed, because it's going to be 30 FPS. It doesn't look like my kind of game, and also, yikes with how the staff's behaving over there. But the actual popularity of that game and people that are interested, it could do well. People are looking forward to it. That's landing in February, and then South of Midnight lands allegedly in March. And Xbox is having a good end to this year. Stalker 2 did decent with its reviews. It was an exclusive. Indiana Jones got very good reviews to end the year. People seem to be enjoying that as well. And they could start next year really, really strong with the Developer Direct in January, Avowed in February, South of Midnight in March, and maybe start to really change the tone around the cadence of when Xbox games come out. That's also not including Doom the Dark Ages, another Call of Duty, and maybe Fable. So Xbox primed in a good spot to have a better end of this year as well as a better start to next year if this rumor is true. So we'll find out if South of Midnight's rumor is true, though. That'll be this Thursday. All right, here we go. Games for your wishlist and your radar. This one's called Wild Woods. It launches into early access today. It's a casual couch co-op action roguelike. You can play with up to 4 players, and the premise is you defend your adorable little wagon as it slowly moves through the forest. It looks like a really, really fun casual co-op romp. And since it's local co-op, this would be a perfect one for me to try out with my kiddos or Madam if we're looking for something to play on the weekend or in the evenings. So, and it looks like there is an element of time, right? When night falls is when the attacks are going to come, so you probably spend the time before that kind of scavenging and looking for things. So this one is called Wild Woods, and it launches in early access today. Now, the next one we don't have a release date for, but we've seen this one a handful of times, and I have not put this one officially on your wish lists or your radars. This one's called Morbid Metal. It's an action roguelite hack and slash game, and you can permanently unlock and upgrade characters, and it uses semi-procedurally generated levels in order for it to be a little bit different every time. No current release date. This can be wish listed on Steam. We've not seen or heard anything about other platforms as well. I, for one, think this would be a great fit for PlayStation. It's kind of got that third-person action-adventure vibe, and also fans of Returnal would probably like another fun rogue to play, especially this one's a little bit different with the combat being more melee-focused. All right, and last but certainly not least, this one is called Scarlet Tower. And Scarlet Tower is on both the Steam and the Nintendo Switch and launched earlier this year. It has an 83% on Steam. It's an action roguelike with pixel-style graphics. There is a day-night cycle that happens in the game, as well as a bunch of unique heroes. It boasts of over 20 hours of gameplay, and it's only $5. Now, they sent me a code, and I may end up showing this to members, but I did want to, tell you guys about it. I'm not being paid or anything. I've not downloaded the game. I didn't even really apply to get this. They just sent it as like a, hey, do you want to check this game out? So would love to put a game like this on your radar as well. It is called Scarlet Tower. And just to recap, Ubisoft's facing a very different future. They could be bought out. They could be dismantled. Steam is allegedly considered doing a console, and 2 games are exploding over the weekend: Marvel Rivals and Path of Exile 2. Which one are you playing, or did you play something else? In any case, that's the news, and now it's time for the discussion. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Guys, thanks so much for being here. Already 100 likes on the video. Do me a favor and start working on 200. Let's try to get that like count up. Start our Monday strong. If you missed the upload, I didn't upload this morning about the PlayStation handheld. It could be a mistake, or it could be a really good idea. I wasn't actually aware that the PSP sold so well 20 years ago. It sold over like 85 million or something like that, which is a really high number if you think about it. And the market is far more receptive to gaming handhelds now. But Han shot first, and so did you, Joker Quinn, with the first gifted member of the day. And we did our very, very first members-only Bad Ideas with Hilly stream. We did that on Friday afternoon, and a lot more people got to hang out and watch. We will continue that this week. And the goal, we need to think of one. You guys can make us play something goofy or silly or funny, in addition to us working our way through the Mines of Moria game, which is actually a really fun little game if you missed that. So make sure and keep those memberships coming, as well as working on the stretch goal if you want that Friday night stream with Madam. A $5 super chat tip from Sneaky Wolf. Ranger is easy and fun. I'm a beginner, and I'm sailing through the game. Oh, really? Multiple people have said Ranger for my wife in Path of Exile 2. James with 29 months and a VIP. Which version of Path of Exile 2 should I get? I just got the $30 one. You know, you can get all that extra stuff if you want. And then D Dizzle with 39 months. That's 2 more members to add to the total. When you guys are on Member Plus or VIP, it counts. So thanks so much and welcome on in. That's a huge number. I never would have thought 80 million. Well, yeah, because the Vita didn't do very well at all. The Vita was like, what? 15 to 16 million units. That's it. The PSP sold over 80 million. And it's like, well, wait a minute. That was 20 years ago. People are far more likely now to be like, oh, no, I would buy a gaming handheld. I think the biggest barrier for a gaming handheld today is that expectations for performance are going to be quite a bit higher, because if you're playing on a PS5 or a PS5 Pro or a PS Portal, you're going to expect good performance out of PlayStation. You're going to want PlayStation games on this thing. I don't think you're going to want like bespoke games for a handheld. You're not going to want something that's like completely and totally separate. I sucked at PoE Mercenary. Oh, I sucked at PoE. Mercenary has clicked with me in PoE too. Yeah, I think she could just... I don't think she could hang with Mercenary. I saw Mercenary and got excited. But it's like... I understand these games and play them. She kind of doesn't. She always liked playing as the Demon Hunter in Diablo 3, and she would literally just cycle through her abilities anytime they were available, and she especially liked spamming the dual crossbows. That was like her favorite thing to do. So, yeah, maybe I'll have her check out the Ranger. Because that was the only thought I had, is I'm seeing some of these boss fights, I'm like, man, this game gets dadgum intense. I don't know if she would like hang with it and enjoy it if we're dying a lot. Or if she's dying a lot and I'm having to like clutch up. That happens sometimes in our games, but like typically we're not playing super intense games. We're playing casual fun games, you know what I mean? Not intense, stressful games. The sales were due to easily hacking? What do you mean? You're saying the sales of the PSP were due to hacking? PSP had gameplay in games that's still not surpassed on current mobile games. The Vita successfully outlived the 3DS. The Witch Hunter, you get minions. She could like that. That's true. That's true. That can help play a little bit more on like the passive side of things for sure. She can just kind of sit back. The Vita was self-sabotage. Oh, you're talking about the Vita. So the Vita could be hacked and that's why it didn't do well. I don't really remember what happened with that. I didn't pay much attention to like handhelds back then. I was like... I just know people always talk about the Vita and they're like sad that it didn't make it. Like they liked it and they're always like sort of bemoaning that it didn't do very well. They're always like kind of bummed. Palworld has changed how PAL spheres work in the game. Well, there you go. We could throw that on the thing for tomorrow. I'd love to take a look at that. they might be preparing. They might be preparing to not have to worry about this stupid lawsuit. You know, the Vita's peripherals were way too overpriced. Both the Vita and the PSP ran homebrew. Okay, many people hacked the PSP. Says Riddish. Colin Moriarty mentioned it in one of his podcasts or interviews. Wait, so Riddish, are you claiming then that the PSP sold 80 million because people could turn it into like an open platform? They basically hacked it. The Vita failed because Sony couldn't support the PS4 and a handheld at the same time, which is exactly what my video is about this morning. Like, is this a mistake? I don't want first-party PlayStation studios having to suddenly make games for a handheld. Now, if PSSR can work in the reverse, if it can help the Pro give better performance, could it help a handheld basically limp along? Like, hey, you can lower the resolution, upscale to 1080, which would be extremely light. Like, that would make the game a lot easier to run. You turn off all the ray tracing and stuff. And then, but do you want developers working on a mode like that, like a stripped down handheld mode for Horizon Forbidden West and things like that? I don't know if that would be good for PlayStation's goals and aspirations or their studios. You don't want to create what the Series S is. Like, we've always talked about that. Like, you always have to worry about your lowest common denominator or your weakest point in the chain link. You always have to consider where the bottleneck is. And if you've got a device that's doing that to your studios, then you have to ask that question. Is this going to adversely affect the content that they're making, the projects that they're scoping out and planning on doing? You know, that would be my concern, is that I don't want Santa Monica's making their next game and being like, oh, well, we got to make sure this thing can run on a handheld. Does that make sense? They have launchers so you don't have to throw them. I still play Vita on occasion, just having Dragon's Crown portable. Can we all pray that Sony doesn't do a native handheld? I mean, okay. All right. Well, I'm being told that this will be a different strategy. I'm not quite sure what that means, but, you know. Yo, what's good, Christos? How are you? The last thing I want is for Sony or third parties to make games for a PS Portable. That's why the Portal was a good meeting place. But maybe as they port games for PC, Steam Deck, and then release, maybe. Right. And again, did they have a breakthrough with PSSR? Like, can they go into a game like Horizon Forbidden West and drop things down pretty low? Because think about it. You wouldn't have to have this thing running at high resolution. You know, if it's running, like, I think the Portal looks great at 1080. You could basically have games running at 1080, but internally you could drop them below that. PSSR bumps them up to 1080. How much headroom does that give you? Could you actually start running some of these games natively? I just don't know the amount of power I would think that you would need to run these games, the size of the games, and then you got to have basically a piece of hardware in the device running PSSR. That was my only thought, is maybe they had a breakthrough with PSSR. Maybe they suddenly thought, wait a minute, this suddenly makes something possible that wouldn't have been possible in the past, which is we can make something to natively run PlayStation 5 games that's handheld. But that just seems like a huge technical leap that doesn't really exist in the market right now. You could get decent upscaling from about 600 to 1080. PSSR is still getting patched. We won't see the full effect until 2 to 3 years later. Well, and recently when the co-CEO talked about this, he talked about how they can spin up these tech projects in 3 to 5 years, which means, you know, this thing that we're hearing about could be 3 years away. And by the time it lands, the hope would be they can get something strong enough in your hand that could run these games. It wouldn't, to me, what would not work, what absolutely would not work, is if all of a sudden PlayStation's market and footprint looked like PlayStation 5, PSVR 2, PlayStation 5 Pro, and the Portal, all running games at the same like sort of level of fidelity and performance depending on where you want to experience them, right? Base PS5 still a great experience. Pro ticks everything up to the peak, and then you got VR, and then the Portal just can remotely play those games or play some of them on the cloud. That's all very synergistic, like everything sort of feels the same within a certain amount of parameters. In walks a handheld. The last thing you would want is for that handheld to walk in the room and either have its own games, which I think is a terrible idea, or it doesn't have its own games and it's running PS5 games poorly. That would not be ideal. I hate handheld gaming, says Christos, but the Portal opened that up for me. I just don't want it delaying or lessening the progress and fidelity and performance on console. It should always be on console first. Yo, what's good, Feed? I see you in the chat. Everybody say good morning to Feed. This poor guy can't get a membership all of a sudden. The gift just won't land in his lap. Guys, do me a quick favor as well and smash that like button, man. Thanks for a strong turnout on Monday. We've only been streaming for about 25 minutes, and I tried to shorten that opening monologue. Sometimes I was talking all the way until right now. I tried to shorten it, keep it short and sweet, go through the news, give you some games for your wish list and your radar, and then, move on to discussing things with you guys. They have Death Stranding running on iPhones. This is true, but that's also Decima, and Decima seems to be very agile as an engine with respect to, they got Decima with DLSS running insane levels of performance on a pretty weak laptop. I forget who ran that experiment. It was pretty impressive. The PlayStation handheld is a horrible idea, says Corey. If people freaked out about a $700 console, they're going to lose their mind over a $700 handheld. Why? Steam Deck and the Asus ROG Ally are in the market right now for, what, anywhere from $500 or $600 all the way up to like $900. Like, I forget what the actual peak is, how expensive they can get. I think it's like $900 or something like that. I read something somewhere that YouTube disabled gifts for users who already had 12 months. Wait, so if somebody gets 12 months in a row, or they've already got 12 months on the channel as far as memberships go, they turn it off for that person? Yeah, Death Stranding is also a PS4 game. That's true. We got to remember that. And it needs a $1,500 phone to run it. Right, so it's not like Death Stranding is a new game, with insane fidelity of graphics and ray tracing running on just any old phone. It's a PS4 game that's running on a really expensive phone. So very, very different. PlayStation handheld would have to run PS5, PS4 games native at 1080 60 while also being able to cloud and remote play. That's what I would want out of a PlayStation handheld. They're competing against Nintendo, then it wouldn't be $700. It can't be. Well, here's why I think they wouldn't consider price point to be the battleground. I think they want to be an alternative. Ally is $650. Yeah, but can't you go all the way up to like $800 or $900? Isn't there a version of the... Yeah, the Asus ROG Ally X is $800. You can get them for as low as like $350, but there's one right now I can buy at Best Buy for $800. It's the Asus ROG Ally X, 120 hertz, 1080 gaming handheld. I looked into how many 60 FPS games these things can play, and it wasn't a super impressive amount just yet. The Ally X goes up to $900. Okay, I was going to say, I thought I saw some for $800 or $900. So I was just trying to give a price range of like, you can get them for like $400 or $500, or you can go all the way up to $800 or $900. But what I was going to say about Nintendo is, I just think they want to be an alternative in the market. That's my thought. Is I think PlayStation wants to be an alternative in the market. They're not trying to beat Nintendo. They want to rival them, as in like, yeah, you can buy a Nintendo Switch 2 for $400, or you can buy our handheld for $600 or $700 or whatever the price point ends up being. Because, and this is what I said in my upload about this, which if you guys haven't watched that PlayStation handheld video, give it some love sometime today. Give it a watch, give it a comment, give it a like. Let's read some of the comments here. This guy responded to the video. He says, his name is Sabundi. He says, 100% not a mistake. The console market is changing. People want to play their games on a nice big TV, but they also want to play those games on the go, on something better than a smartphone. A $5 super chat tip from Duff. In my opinion, Sony and Microsoft aren't making handhelds to compete with Nintendo. It's a measure to prevent Apple and Samsung dominating the market for 10 years. I think that's a really, really good point. Here, I forgot to set, I will, hang on, gift 5 members. I forgot to set the super chat goal. Sorry, that one should have counted. That's my fault. I'm spinning too many plates. Yeah, I think gaming on the go is huge in other countries as well. Like, gaming on the go is growing. I agree with this comment. It's becoming more and more prevalent. I don't think that means that, like, console gaming's under threat, because he says, if anything, Sony has to make a go at giving people the choice if they want to thrive in certain markets, for sure. Demetrius with a $10 super chat tip says, I don't know, $700 for a handheld is a deal breaker. Steam Deck hasn't sold enough to justify the price point. If I'm buying a PlayStation portable device, I want to play my games, not lug around a handheld laptop. Well, I mean, I think you'd then have to choose between this thing and the Portal, right? This Mr. Cheese says, if the PlayStation Vita was ahead of its time, was preventing Sony from doing it again, plus it says the new PSP would come out in the future, let's say around the PS6, I think after like 7 years after the PS5 launch, or 8 concerning. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's what they would do. Launch with the PS6 and play PS5 games? I don't know. Maybe? Miyako Best Girl, thanks so much for renewing your membership. Guys, if you have a membership renewal and you're Member Plus and above, be sure to celebrate those during the streams. We add those to the total. Thank you to everybody who continues to gift members as well. That is how we are able to do what we do here full time. And we appreciate the support of the channel as well as the community. Stonespire says, it doesn't matter how many units it's sold. I can take the majority of my Steam catalog on the go, and it's only slightly bigger than the Switch. Game Boy Color sold 118 million. How is it growing? I'm not sure what you mean, Paul. Hilly says, I'm not big on handhelds. The only one that makes sense is the Switch 2. Like anything else, has IP I can access via console or PC. Well, here's the observation that I made in the upload. When they sold roughly 80 million, or they sold more than 80 million of the PSP 20 years ago, okay? 20 years ago, they sold 80 million. 1/4 of that 80 million was in Japan. Now, if you look at the PlayStation 5, very different. 61 million units sold, only roughly 5 million in Japan. They don't do nearly as well with saturation in Japan with their console, but they had 1/4 of their handheld sales of the PSP was in Japan. So this could be an effort to get a better foothold there and to get better saturation. That's potentially why the Portal was like their first attempt. Like, hey, let's see if we can even get people to entertain this idea again. Noberto with 43 months and a VIP. Here's to a killer year. Excited for Thursday's show. I think we'll hear some big news about upcoming hardware and games. Much love to you in the community. Thank you so much, Noberto. And then Lee Stills with 32 months and a VIP. I'm going to add both of those to the total, because if you guys are at Member Plus or VIP, it counts toward the goal. And there's another one from OGDSB. If you guys upgrade as well to Plus or VIP, I count it as 2 on the upgrade. So consider upgrading. And here's one from Omar to round us out at 10. All these great renewals. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it greatly. Says, hey, here's a renewal. In case I missed it, what were your thoughts on SkillUp's tweet about indie? I mean, I don't know how serious he was being. So, if you guys didn't see it, He basically said that it should be criminal. He was obviously being hyperbolic. You know, you shouldn't be able to review indie if you haven't seen the movies. I don't agree with him. I just don't. I like Skill Up. I usually find myself agreeing with his reviews and his takes and his outlook, but and he loves RoboCop, so I guess I would pose the question to Ralph and say, hey, do you feel the same way about the RoboCop game? Or can somebody just play the game and give a review and comment on it having never seen the movies? Because if he said he wasn't joking, well, he said he wasn't joking, and then he also said jail. Like, he kind of, I don't know. It was like he was being serious, but he wasn't being serious. I totally get where he's coming from. And a gifted member from Patrick Q, and gets us to 11 members on the day. Thank you so much, Patrick Q. I get where he's coming from, that if you don't get the frame of reference for the character, the environment, the voice, you know, the vibe, you know, are you really going to be able to review the game? My answer to that is yes, you can. It still needs to be a good video game. It still needs to be a good story with good voice acting and good writing. So if there are people that are giving Indiana Jones a more middling score and they're saying, listen, I just don't get it, and people are like, well, you didn't see the movies and that's why. Listen, if the prerequisite to enjoying your game is that I have to watch movies from the 80s, maybe your game needs to improve in certain areas. Like, the prerequisite, that would be like if, okay, there are Lord of the Rings games, okay? Does that mean you have to read every book and the Silmarillion, and then you also have to read The Hobbit as well? You got to read them all, or you can't review a Lord of the Rings game. You see what I'm saying? Like, how far would you push that? How far would you push that limitation and be like, well, you can't really understand the lore and the environments and the you need to see them first or read them first. Like, are we going to do that with a Harry Potter video game? What about Hogwarts Legacy? Do you have to read all of the Harry Potter books to really review and understand Hogwarts Legacy? Like, I don't think you can push, if Skill Up is being genuine and serious, I don't think we can push his standard very far before it just absolutely snaps and breaks. It's like there are so many games based off of existing IP. Yeah. You know? Maybe that's why nobody enjoyed Gollum. Not enough people had read Lord of the Rings. I just read this. Former art director of God of War and Ragnarok is joining Naughty Dog. Nice. I thought dwarves have second breakfast. Turns out just hobbits. Yeah. The second breakfast joke. Garrett Green left a comment on my PlayStation handheld video. He said, they're not going to build special handheld games. Anything it can't run natively will be through the cloud. Probably. I hate this keyboard. Probably, but then the Portal exists already. The Portal already exists. If they expand that cloud library, if it has their terrible sticks and their super commons, no chance to buy it. All three brands get their joysticks from the same supplier. Sorry. It isn't just Sony. I hate to break it to you, but they all get their sticks from the same supplier. That's why they all get stick drift. Games and movies should be separate. Bruh, I'm not into Star Wars movies, but I love the Star Wars Jedi series. Right, and that's a perfectly good example. It's a spin-off. It's like, this is more Indiana Jones. It's not literally one of the movies. You know? John always comes in and says, with a 39-month VIP, does that mean I have to watch the Borderlands movie before the new game? And for that reason, I'm out. And he bumps the line to 12 members. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Victor says, with the mobile gaming market outperforming the console market in pure money spent, I can see why they want to have a piece of the market, of the handheld market especially. Yes. Stonespire on the handheld video says, my first question is, what can or will the new device do that the Portal can't do? And second will be digital only, or will they have disc-like media? Likely digital only, and hopefully native games. You would hope that it plays games natively. I would. David Houdat with 10 months of memberships, dude. Thank you so much. That bumps the line to 13. Keep it going, boys. Let's see those gifteds as well. I appreciate all the renewals, the super chats, the gifteds. You guys are the best. Haven't had stick drift since PlayStation 2. Ever since wireless controllers became a thing, I haven't had stick drift. It might be the games that you play. I think people who commonly play first-person shooters end up with stick drift because you're commonly holding that one joystick forward. I mean, I think that's what it is. And the reason you get stick drift on Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons and DualSense as well as Xbox controllers is because they get their joysticks from the same supplier. So, gaming always runs in circles. Look back, a year ago it was first Nintendo 64, and then people wanted 3DS and Game Boy, and then they moved back to console. I don't know if people move. I just think people like to have new. Like, I don't know if I don't necessarily know if people move in large batches of like, oh yeah, everybody just stopped playing console games and shifted to Game Boy, and then they shifted back. I think people do both. I think they shift around. I don't think they like move in packs where like all of a sudden you couldn't sell your consoles because people had switched to Game Boy. Does that make sense? Proof, you're my main man. Yo, JW, Reforge Gaming was your top gaming creator. Excuse me. Thank you so much. Lone Wolf left a comment here and said, if it's running games natively, I will buy it day one. Me too. Wolf Saint says they have mobile division right, so they can make the handheld games or ports. Sure. Yeah. I didn't consider ports. I didn't consider ports. Maybe you can port games to a handheld and not have the developers like Santa Monica and Insomniac wasting their time on it. I don't have stick drift as much. Just the bumpers or triggers break. My Xbox Elite controllers kept having the bumpers go bad. Jatoak left a comment and says, just look how well the Steam Deck runs PC games, and the Sony handheld should have problems running PS5 games. LOL. 1080p should be doable. We're not talking emulation here. Yeah, but Steam Deck runs PS5 games like Spider-Man as well as the PS5. It needs to hit 60 FPS. It needs to hit 60 FPS, dude. You wouldn't be able to just be like, yeah, here's a PlayStation Portable, handheld, and it's not running games at 60. I don't think that would fly. Parasita says, I don't think they'll default to cloud streaming. The current engines are already primed to allow for different performance settings. Would just get enabled for portable. That's why I thought, Parasito, PSSR could work in the reverse. Instead of helping the Pro do more because it's stronger, it could help a portable, essentially lower the internals of the game so it could run on the portable. So then you would have, in any given game, let's say like Spider-Man 2, you'd have quality and performance, then you'd have your Pro mode, and then down here you'd have your portable mode. You'd have, essentially you'd have 4 modes. Because on your base console of the PS5, you got quality and you got performance. And then beyond that, you would say that you've got your Pro modes, and then you would have at the very, very bottom, you'd have a portable mode, and PSSR could be assisting with that. That could be what they're working on right now. Is like basically Mark Cerny said, listen, try to figure out how to get PSSR in a portable. Guys, take a quick second and smash the like button. Let's try to get 200 likes. A lot of folks here already. Thank you so much. We haven't even been streaming for an hour yet, man. Time's flying. Handhelds don't need 60 FPS, so less important. That small. I don't know why. I don't agree with you at all. No. I mean, you can think that. I don't agree. I would want 60. I am not about to switch from a Pro and play games at 30. I get 60 on my Portal. Like, do you see the problem they would have? They've made a problem for themselves. And the problem is, you just walked out with the Pro and said 3 out of 4 people prefer performance. You have a Portal device right now that plays games at 60, 1080 60. And to suddenly sell a handheld that's more money, it would honestly, there's no way it wouldn't be. It would be more expensive than the PlayStation Portal. And for that to be running games at 30, nothing wrong with 30 and 60 FPS options. More options is good. Sony will never back a 30 handheld. I don't think so. Yo, what's good, Dark Taco? If a new handheld comes, what, Alfonso? What were you going to say? I think you cut yourself off there. The Cold Slither says, I think a new Sony handheld would focus on the demographic of people who like Palworld, an audience that likes Nintendo, but they're grown up now. They need to be the alternative that will do what Nintendo don't. And a single gifted from Stone Spire. He's going to do 2. I know what he's going to do. There they are. He does 2 back-to-back to set up the first 25. He wants to see somebody drop a 10 bomb. Something is coming. Oh, something little is coming. Xbox UK has tweeted, and it says, score more with Xbox. And they have like a green... They have like a green X crashing towards Earth. It says hashtag score more with Xbox. And it says something little is coming. Not sure what that is. No, I've not watched a Skeleton Crew yet. It's coming. That's right. I think their own games native would be killer, if I'm honest. If they could do it. Roadkill says PlayStation handheld will be great if they can do it right and do it for the right price. I think it would have to be a little smaller than the Portal itself. That's sort of a big handheld. Not compared to the Asus and Steam Deck, it isn't. No. The PlayStation Portal is not big by any means if you compare it to like a Steam Deck or an Asus ROG. Something little, but Lono's already here. Rude. Welcome on in. As you guys are tuning in for the first time, maybe ever, thank you so much for being here. If you've never been here before, hit that subscribe button so that way you can talk in my chat. Subscribing is totally free. We did an upload already today about the PlayStation handheld. And let me go ahead and see where you guys coming from today. And JW hits a 5 bomb. He says, I'll do half of it. He says, I won't do the 10 bomb. I'll do half. Somebody do the other half and help him out. Most of you are getting here through browse or suggest. A lot of you came from the upload this morning, so thank you so much. If I was on your homepage, let me know and say good morning and hello in the chat. The Lenovo is larger than the Ally or the Steam Deck. Or the Steam Deck, sorry. I always get confused because Elgato launched a Stream Deck before the Steam Deck, so I always flub it up and say Stream Deck. Zubair says, weight is more important than size. The big screens hide a lot of size. Well, yeah. I mean, the weight of, you got to consider all the internals and battery and all that too. Like, that can really make it heavy and cumbersome to hold. And that's not going to be, that wouldn't be a good selling point. I think people would get annoyed if they felt like it was heavy. I would buy it if the handheld was just to play PS1 to PS4 games native. A handheld is not going to replicate the home work console performance. PSSR would also not remove the CPU requirements. This is true. We haven't gotten to the naming conversation about the Microsoft handheld. What are we in for? Oh, I have no idea. I don't know. Silver Subaru says, it seems that if the Portal can do cloud gaming, then just a few changes like adding a slot for 5 gig or better Wi-Fi card could be a stepping stone to a true handheld gaming system. Agreed. As much as I think trying to compete against Nintendo in the market is not dominate, but frankly own, I'll buy the device. I still own my PSP and my Vita. Second place to Nintendo ain't a bad place to be. You know what I'm saying? Second place to Nintendo is not a bad place to be. Like, that's something people aren't considering, I think, when this comes up. There ain't no way you're beating Nintendo in the handheld market. That's a fool's errand. If you think you're going to beat Nintendo, good luck. I don't think so. I think you get to second place, though. If people go to the market and say, oh, you can buy a Nintendo, but you can also buy that PlayStation handheld, there you go. That's just why I would imagine that's what they want, is just to be an alternative. Like I said, second place in Nintendo ain't bad. And JW does the other 5. He tag teams with himself. Thank you so much, JW. That's our first 25. You guys are the absolute best. Every 50, I give 5. Christos got one. Welcome back in, Christos. People going for the Steam Deck are a large group of PC players who are okay with changing and modding settings. Yeah, JW says, fine, I'll do it myself. There it is. Boycott Activision said, I just bought the Portal. Incredibly disappointed when I travel with it, but at home with a good connection, it was absolutely beautiful. Yeah, super Wi-Fi dependent. It can be great or horrible. Yeah, it was not good in my brother's house. His Wi-Fi is just not in a good place in the home, and he doesn't have a mesh system. So it's like, yeah, it was rough. It was rough. I really want to get a new mesh system for my home that's Wi-Fi 6, so that then the Portal, could go anywhere in the house. It's not super big need, but it would be nice. I could just test it out, upstairs in the living room. And a $10 super chat from Mark M. There it is. Would be interested to see in a Steam set-top box for my living room if Valve gets their Proton capability layer to work nice with all the Windows anti-cheat. Steam Deck currently is hindered by this. Thank you, Mark M. Isn't it interesting? We're discussing a PlayStation handheld and a Steam console. Like, what a world we might live in the next 5 or 6 years. Don't get messed for 6. You'll get higher latency. What? Go Wi-Fi 7, you nerd. Future-proof. Well, okay, fine. I don't know about any of this stuff. Demony Christmas. That's why I don't do it. I always end up buying or getting the wrong thing. Everybody says this is good and this is better, and then a couple months go by and they're like, not really, this is the better thing now. Ray16 says, I think the main reason is Sony's attempting to recapture the Japanese market from Nintendo. Agreed on Japan. I covered that in the vid. I'm just going to accept typos and just fix them with my mouse. I hit backspace and it goes twice for some reason. There, maybe I'll hit it into not being bad. Steam Deck, it's like the game doesn't run great on it. PlayStation would not have that luxury. Right, like a lot of the times people have asked me, well, why won't you get a Steam Deck? I'm like, because number one, I don't travel enough. Number two, 99% of the times that I'm playing a game, I'm in my home. So it's like, it's not going to meet a need. And why would I want to play at inferior performance of what I like? I like 60 FPS. That's what I like. I'm not going to get that consistently on a Steam Deck. I mean, they're getting there, which is why I'm thinking, okay, in 3 years' time, could a PlayStation handheld with the help of PSSR do it? I just don't know. PlayStation games go really hard with fidelity. I mean, especially now that the Pro is in the market, they're going to start really pushing things. And I just don't want them having to wrangle with a handheld. This guy here, Bellissimo, says they'd have to do a scaled-down version of the PS5. I see no reason why a PS5 portable should not be possible. The Steam Deck can run PC games. Yeah, some better, some less is exactly right. Stewart said, short answer, no, not a mistake. If they want to regain the crowd in Japan. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are seeing that. Like, that could be potentially an angle that they're taking here. That getting a better handheld, getting a better foothold in Japan could be part of the goal here to leverage that gaming on the go culture. Here we have Novahan saying, with the Portal being a thing, it would seem to me that Sony needs to do something more innovative if they are going to bring a handheld to the market. It can't just be a Portal with internal storage. Will they offer detachable Joy-Cons? They don't need a gimmick. I don't agree. I don't think they need like a gimmick, like you can take the Joy-Cons off. I don't know. First, they got to include that battery Odin 2 line is using at a minimum. If the PSP is just running PS5 games with lighter settings, then the workload is so much smaller. It's tweaking, not building. That's true. In 3 years, sure, you could have a handheld that targets the PS5 games, and yet the PS6 would be around the corner. So what happens to that handheld within 12 months? Well, you would play, maybe they would set it up to do the PS5 games native and PS6 games cloud. We also know, and this is, maybe we don't know this has been my prediction, that they're going to use PSSR as like a bridge between the generations. Like cartilage between the PS5 and the PS6 is going to be PSSR. Because we always know the first, like, let's just say the first 4 years of the PS6, you'll get cross-generationally supported games, which means the handheld could launch in 3 years, and then it would be a totally viable device that would get games for 5 or 6 years after that. That's also considering that a lot of us think that the PS6 is not going to happen as soon as many people have predicted. It might be further out. You're not going to get a PS6 game till 2035. Right, like we always know they do cross-generational support for a while. They don't just immediately say, yeah, we're not making games for the old system anymore. An exclusive PS6 game? That's what I mean with how many PS5s and then PS5 Pros that they're going to sell. I don't know if they're just suddenly going to be like, oh yeah, we're not making PS5 games anymore. They're going to do the same thing. We got 4 years of cross-gen on the PS5. You'll probably get 4 years or more of cross-gen on the PS6. Again, with PSSR, it might be a little bit longer. Well, it depends on how many pros. So they have more incentive going into the PS6 to never make exclusive games for it for 5 years. Yep. Yeah. Listen, times are changing. This expectation that the PS6 would walk into the market and you would start getting exclusives for it, I think that's a foolish thing to expect. I do. I think it's a foolish thing to expect. Games take a really, really long time to develop, and we're already hitting a ceiling on just how beautiful and awesome these games can look. The next big levels of innovation and iteration are going to be within the systems themselves, within the games. So if you think, man, yeah, PS6 is going to come strutting out and we're going to get exclusives like right away for it, no, I think that's dumb to think. I'm not saying you're dumb. I'm saying anybody who thinks that feels like a really dumb expectation. It doesn't feel like something that they would do. And I also don't think you're going to see this insane leap. Like when the PS6 walks out, I don't think you're going to be like, oh my gosh, these games look so incredible. My PS5 games look like trash now. I don't think we're going to have those generational leaps anymore. They're going to be leaps, but they're not going to be the leaps that we used to get. We're already sensing that. It's why people look at the Pro and they're not impressed by it. Because unless you really pay attention or watch the video in the right way, because if you watch it on like low resolution or your phone, you're not going to see those differences. Because the differences are less severe. They're there. They're undoubtedly there, but they're less severe. And I think the jump from PS5 Pro to PS6 will be less severe. Which means cross-generational support could last longer. All right, thanks so much, JW, dude. Have a good day, man. Thanks for those gifted members. You the man. The jump won't be justified. How much more can they truly do? I believe we are a hand's reach away from the ceiling. I don't know if we're a hand's reach away from the ceiling. I said earlier this gen that we were not going to get to the back half of the PS5 and be like, oh my gosh, these games look so much better. I said, no, we're already close to the ceiling. All you have to do is look at Horizon Forbidden West and Burning Shores, and it's obvious. It's like, yeah, we're not going to have these big leaps late gen again. It just isn't going to happen. Now, you might have cool systems come into play or cool iterations on systems like with instantaneous loading and other things that they're getting better at. But I don't think you're going to get to the back half of the PS5 era and be like, oh my gosh, these games are kicking the snot out of those earlier games. You know, those games that came out in the first year. I don't think so. I think jumps will be higher in terms of AI and NPC interaction. I think that's probably a good prediction, Garrett. A time will come when they stop using power for fidelity and performance and be able to turn it towards systems and mechanics. Right. This is why when, you know, people couldn't believe that I said better hardware leads to better games. They couldn't believe that I said that. And I'm like, but that's exactly what has happened. Stronger consoles have led to better games. We have games that you can do things you could never do before. Worlds, AI systems, all sorts of things that were never possible before because the hardware wasn't strong enough to run it or to do it. The hardware gave birth to entire ideas of what you could do with games that would never have happened if hardware didn't advance. Like, that's just the natural way of things. Join us for a new episode of Red Streams where we dive deep into the new features coming soon to Cyberpunk. They're doing another big update, update 2.2. It's very well understood hardware. It's not some bespoke cell processor. Zubair says 4K 60 is enough for most. It would need to have very performant ray tracing to make a big improvement. Right. Yeah. That's exactly right. I don't think I don't think we're walking into the PS6 era and having our brains melted by the graphics. I think we're going to say, oh wow, it looks amazing, the lighting's amazing, and performance isn't even a concern anymore. Like, I think we're going to enter an era of time where performance and fidelity are just assumed to be at a high level. After that, and this is where I think a lot of the doomsdaying about the gaming industry is, you know, completely fabricated and made up. But I also think that you are going to see things kind of course correct, where right now you're noticing just making a really flashy, good-looking game isn't enough. A good example would be like Immortals of Avium. And a handful of other games that came out that were like, they were good looking, they were in a flashy new engine, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter. It didn't make a difference. It wasn't like, oh wow, that's all people want. The games themselves lacked originality. They lacked innovation. Well, if we get to a point where you just sort of assume that graphics and performance will be good, will be at a high level, well then it's not a question of is the game running well and does it look good? The question then becomes, is it a good game? Does it have good systems, good story, good voice acting? Whatever. Fortnite is adding a new social roleplay experience called Brick Life. Really? So like what? Like it's expanding its new modes and features. As you explore this bustling city with up to 31 players, you'll find it's full of interesting locales to explore and landmarks to admire. So like a sim game, like playing The Sims, but with Legos. Yeah, I wouldn't have any interest in that, but those games are popular. They are very, very popular. So you can see a lot of people diving in to do that. Yo, good morning, Croquill. How are you? 4K 60 ray tracing should be standard for PS6, and the leaps will be in AI and machine learning. I wanted to play Immortals just because it was so pretty, but pretty wasn't enough. Yeah, Immortals Phoenix Rising is tough to go the distance with because the combat and the open world experience starts to get very samey. And I think that's always going to be a dilemma. That was why I tapped out with Dragon Age Veilguard. It was like I got 30 hours in, and it just felt like I'm not doing anything different. And there's also just rough edges to the combat anyways. So I bailed. I was like, I can't do it. I didn't have it in me to go another 15 hours. I was easily going to hit over 40 hours in that game, and I just couldn't do it because the fights just got so unnerving. Even if you're enjoying a game's combat, even if you're enjoying a game's movement systems and all of that, like in Immortals Phoenix Rising, it's like that's another game that's just like, it's huge. And I just couldn't go the distance with it because it just starts to feel super, super samey, Veilguard. Yeah. It was bad. Frame gen on consoles ruins the experience for Immortals of Avium's. Too much latency. I thought they went back and fixed all that stuff. Didn't they? I thought they did some pretty significant patches for that. I've not been using the timer. How's the camera angle over here? How are we looking? It's kind of dark. I don't feel like messing with the white. Most PC gamers play 1440 120. As for multiplayer games, you have a slight upper hand. 8K 60, 4K 60 ray tracing, 1440 120 sounds like a good PS6 mode. They're targeting 8K 8K 60. They're actually targeting 8K 60, 4K 120 on the PS6. They're targeting that with PSSR. So, new chapter. I mean, I'm happy to see somebody go from Santa Monica to Naughty Dog. I mean, that's great talent going to another team of great talent. That could be very good. Butter says that most PC players play at 1080. Yeah, I was going to say, I thought the statistics were that most people on PC played at 1080, which is very much attached to the fact that a lot of the PC hardware out there, a lot of the configurations are not that particularly strong. There are a lot of people out there on PCs and laptops that can run Among Us, and that's about it. Well done, my PC brethren. We all jumped on that correction quickly. Yeah. I didn't even think that to correct it or double check it, because I was just kind of like, I focused on the 120 thing. I was like, oh yeah, 120 for multiplayer games. And then I went back and read what Garrett said, They left Sony for Sony PlayStation. Yeah, they left Sony for Sony. PlayStation's dying. That's right. All right, so what do you guys think about this Ubisoft situation? Let's bring it back to what's on the thumbnail. All right, Ubisoft is in trouble. They're in trouble. Ubisoft could get sold. Ubisoft could get dismantled. I want to know what you guys think about this, because they have an insane catalog of games. And there's a part of me that feels like I wouldn't mind if some of that catalog either ended up under different ownership or at a different studio. They've got some good stuff. They got a lot of property. They got The Division. They got Ghost Recon. They got Rainbow Six. They got Splinter Cell. They got Assassin's Creed. They got Far Cry. They got The Crew. they have a ridiculous amount of property. And part of me really does feel like we need to have it all split up and under different ownership, right? My wife just texted me. My boy yelled at his sister. He said, "Shut up, I'm trying to do piano." He doesn't like to do piano, so he's probably in a little bit of a mood. Yeah, Prince of Persia. You know, that IP isn't going to end up in good hands. Why not? Did you see about Netflix developer Raphael is joining Naughty Dog as the art director? I didn't think he was Netflix. I thought he was, somebody said he was from Santa Monica. Oh, did he go Santa Monica, Netflix, now back to Naughty Dog? Did he kind of pivot? I thought he was at Santa Monica. I thought he worked on God of War. I loved Ghost Recon Wildlands. I wish they would have taken more time and care with Breakpoint. Didn't even bother playing it. Yeah, dude, I remember it was one of the first co-op games I ever played. Oh, yeah. Yeah. He went from Santa Monica to Netflix in May of last year. And so he was there for a little bit over a year. He was there for about a year and a half at Netflix, and now he's going to Naughty Dog. Yeah. Zubitex got his LinkedIn on Twitter. So the best place to play Marvel Rivals is on the PS5 Pro. I don't make the rules. Why are they so upset? None of them are commenting on the gameplay. Well, because you trolled. You're trolling out here, Jay Barry, saying that the PS5 Pro is the best place to play. Somebody said it helps when nobody's aiming at you. I remember all of the Concord, all the Concord montages people were putting on Twitter, and they were just literally farming bots, like players that were so bad they might as well have been AI set to easy. It was like listen, you're not playing against really tough players, dude. My son was getting kill streaks, all right? My son was getting kill streaks in Concord. Some of y'all were out here, and I don't know who you were. I just saw the clips. I didn't keep track of who's who. But some of y'all were out here putting up clips of Concord, and you were shooting some of the most brain-dead players I think I've ever seen. You're like, yo, this game is lit. And I'm like, yeah, you're killing trash can players. It was bad. Alex Gaming says Tencent's going to buy Ubisoft, which is a huge shame because I've always wanted Sony to buy them and make them better, much better. Yeah, Sony ain't buying Ubisoft, dude. Ubisoft's enormous. They don't want to take on that level of work. Now, I think it'd be great if Sony could snag, an IP or a studio, that would align with them. I don't know about maybe Assassin's Creed. The problem is, actually, I wouldn't want Sony to get Assassin's Creed because they'd buy it and they'd sit on it, because they wouldn't want to make them and have them competing. Well, the IP's really big. They would just have to make them not compete or not be similar at all to the future of the Ghost franchise. You don't want to step on Sucker Punch's toes, I'll never get over them clips. Better than Apex and Overwatch. I was able to get a kill. They were bad, dude. What were you going to say about Ghost Recon? Oh, sorry, I interrupted myself. Ghost Recon was the first co-op... Hang on, what's this say here? I'm just kidding. I believe it was the first co-op experience I ever had in a game. Like, instead of playing a shooter PvP, like... I believe I played Ghost Recon with my brother, and we played through, like, the missions together. I think it was that, and then there was a Rainbow Six that we played where you could, like, plan which doors you were going to breach or something, like, before you went in. It was really, really cool, man. It was fun. So, I remember that being something that I always wanted to do. I think I actually think it was Time Splitters. I think Time Splitters and I believe it was Perfect Dark. Perfect Dark had these co-op missions you could do, and Time Splitters you could play like the entire game co-op. And I'm pretty sure those were like my first co-op experiences. And then I think Ghost Recon was like my first co-op experience like on PC. Yeah, I think it might have been Rainbow Six Vegas or something. It might have been that one or the one before that where you could like plan which doors to breach and stuff. And that's why whenever I first saw co-op gameplay in Gears of War, I like geeked the frick out. It was like, oh my gosh, that looks so fun. The concept of playing a shooter together with another person just was so awesome to me. It really, really was. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle possibly made $1 million in the early access launch with over 8,000 concurrent players on Steam and at least 2,000 concurrent on Xbox. It made $1 million? Is that supposed to be is that a lot for that franchise? I don't know. I want to see the player base numbers and the trends now that it's officially launched, because it did fine for an early access weekend, especially considering it hit at a pretty rough time. It launched in early access if you pre-ordered like the premium edition on the same weekend as Marvel Rivals and Path of Exile 2. So it was a little tough. It was a lot of things going on this weekend. You know, same thing's going to happen to Avowed. Well, no, Avowed's not at the exact same time as Monhun. It's just within proximity of Monhun. Where's my... Yeah, 8,000 concurrent. I don't know if 8,000 concurrent is great, but here's the problem. You want to know what the problem is? A lot of gamers are like, Indiana who? Like, I think that's the issue. A lot of us know Indiana Jones, but there's a good chunk of the gaming audience that's like, huh? You know, those are those movies my dad likes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm 43, so to me, it was like, ooh, Indiana Jones, that could be fun. But everybody, I mean, there's a good chunk of the gaming audience that probably is like, I don't know who that is, or they do and they don't care. You know, having recognizable IP is great, but it doesn't necessarily mean everybody wants to play as that character. Like, if you released a game tomorrow and you could play as Rambo, I don't think you'd have a bunch of people that were super excited. You'd have people like me that would be excited, and in my age demographic and up. But below, you know, people in their 30s and down would be like, Rambo? Like, you know what I mean? Almost like people need reviews from people who aren't familiar with it. Right, like if you want people who aren't super familiar with Indiana Jones to take an interest in the Indiana Jones game, well then you should have people reviewing Indiana Jones that haven't played it. Shut up and take my money. Like, I'll be honest with you. A super visceral game where you play as John Rambo with some of those survival elements that they have, like in The Last of Us, where like you're scrounging for materials and like, you know, crafting your own little makeshift, you know, bombs and stuff. That could be pretty awesome. But I'm here to tell you that a lot of gamers would be like, who, Rambo? Like, they would be like, huh? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, having recognizable IP doesn't really matter if it's super old. Like, I've always thought a really, really fun co-op shooter with loot and stuff, and even a little bit of crafting, would be an A-Team game. You know, the A-Team would be awesome. You'd ride around in your van, you'd hop out, each character would have, like, different abilities and different guns and different specialties, and it would just be stupid fun. But I'm here to tell you that everybody would be like, A-Team? What's that? You know, they wouldn't care. It's a shame, because it would be a cool game. It would be a fun game. But I promise you, people would be like, I don't know what's that? That's that old TV show that I was on at my grandma's house, you know, on her old television sometimes. Like, they wouldn't care. I think Indiana Jones is in a similar ballpark. I just think a lot of people are like, I don't really know or care about Indiana Jones. Yeah, a Voltron game would be sick. Yes, a Voltron game would be awesome. At this point, might as well have a MacGyver game. Hey. Yeah, my wife just said I thought A-Team was a movie. It was a movie, babe. It was a movie based on a TV show. I actually am shocked they never did a sequel to that movie. It was a fun time. It was a surprisingly fun time. They were moving a tank by shooting its cannon off as it fell. Man, oh man. What a stupid fun movie. Let's get a Mighty Mouse game. Yeah. A Knight Rider game would be awesome. Oh, the music, the old synthwave. Oh, that'd be sick. You could make that amazing. You really, really could. Give it like that Blood Dragon vibe from Far Cry. Give it that kind of a feeling vibe. You're driving around a car, and he gets out, and he's fighting people. Just David Hasselhoff. The Hoff's just punching people in the face. And then having a ride off into the sunset. That'd be a fun game. But again, everybody would say, nope, I don't know what that is. I don't really care. We're off on this tangent because we were talking about Ubisoft. And, Ubisoft has a lot of valuable property. And I would hate to see it all, either fall by the wayside or, fall into the wrong hands. Have somebody buy it and sit on it because they don't want to compete with it. That's never ideal. They would call the A-Team woke. I don't think so. David Hasselhoff doesn't look like that anymore, babe. She said she Googled David Hasselhoff. She's like, he could punch me in the face. I'm like, he doesn't look like that anymore. Good gracious. He looks bad now, babe. He's rough. He's rough around the edges now. He didn't age as gracefully as like Tom Selleck. Oh, yeah, I guess that's all that matters. She always looks up their net worth. Okay. No. It's already falling to the wayside in Ubisoft's hands. Yeah, I mean, that's certainly... Well, hang on. I mean, we got to let Assassin's Creed Shadows come out. We've got to let that, release. If we're going to say like, oh, all their stuff's already falling by the wayside, at least let's see how AC Shadows turned out. Because they definitely made some super big mistakes with that game, but it could still turn things around and be a really good game. The Hoff aged like milk filled with alcohol. Guys, take a quick second and smash the like button. I appreciate all the support. We're only about an hour and 20 minutes into the show. Let's try to get 300 likes. Double check you don't have any membership celebrations. That helps move the weekly member goal. The weekly member goal is how we do this. We have incentives where you can make Hilly and I play something goofy or funny on a Friday afternoon. Hopefully you guys enjoy that new segment. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It really gave me an opportunity just to kind of like relax and play a game with somebody. There's no long game. The FTC is forcing Microsoft to be third party and not use IP any way they want. That is quite literally not what's happening. Koei with a 31-month renewal. That's a member plus, and that's the go-ahead goal to 26. That's Agents of Chaos. Thank you so much. That is quite literally not what's happening. The FTC is not forcing Microsoft to be third party. Satya Nadella wants to do it. That's the end of the matter. The man in charge said, this is what we're going to do. I mean, everybody, the entire conversation around Xbox becoming more of a publisher, the thing that's hilarious about it is every time I try to talk about it, I got mocked and ridiculed and called a pony. And we were told that we didn't understand context, because when the CFO said what he said, everybody tried to claim it was about ABK. And then when Satya said what he said, everybody tried to claim that it was about ABK. And now that it's actually happening, what is that going to be the new copium that the FTC is making them do it? What? What are you talking about? The FTC is not making them do anything. Microsoft could announce tomorrow that Call of Duty is only available on the Apple Watch. They could do whatever they want with the property. They're turning into a publisher because it's what Satya Nadella wants. Satya is the captain now. He's in charge. The gaming division is now attached to Microsoft more than ever. Otavio Cruz with 14 months on Member Plus. Activision is forcing Xbox to become third party. 14 months and counting. Thank you, Octavio Cruz. And MTO with 22 months. January is going to be big in gaming. DKC returns to Switch. Tales of Iron 2. Ender Magnolia. Citizen Sleeper 2. Great gaming happens all year. Yeah, then February is really full as well. Thank you so much. That's 2 more to add to the goal. That takes us to 28. FTC is responsible for the slogan, everything is an Xbox. Okay, if you say so. No, Team Ambush. Don't you walk away from me, sir. You explain your position with facts. I'm just putting the dots together after the deal and the games went everywhere. Listen to me. If you're going to put dots together, they've got to be dots, not crumbs on the table. Like, you know what I'm saying? The dots aren't even dots anymore. They're boulders. It's not hard to follow the trail. Before this deal went through, before it happened, the money man, the CFO, the chief financial officer, he tells would-be investors at a Wells Fargo summit, he says, you're going to see a change in strategy. We're going to start putting our games on platforms that were formerly considered competitors. He wasn't like, yeah, the FTC won't let me be, so we got to do this. You know what I'm saying? The upside is we're going to make a lot of money. No. It's not the FTC. It isn't. They told the people with the money, this is where we're going. That's why I've always said, you always have to listen. The winds of change at these companies, it always starts in these meetings. It's the pocketbook discussion. That's it. This is where we're headed. You want to back us. You want to be invested. You want to buy more shares. You want to be a part of what we're doing. This is where we're going. They're forecasting. You don't forecast at a Wells Fargo summit because the FTC's making you. That was during and after the deal. That was my assumption. Listen, Ambush, at one level, I don't think your assumption's bad. I think your assumption is corrected by information. I think it's corrected by information. Well, I just assumed the FTC was making them do it. Okay, well, hang on a minute. Let's inform your position, because an assumption is usually not informed. You're just kind of like making an assumption like, oh, I just assumed the FTC was making them do it. Okay? We can inform your assumption. The CFO made it crystal clear this was a change in strategy. And Phil Spencer, this is really where you got to go. Before the FTC trial was concluded, Phil Spencer says on the Kinda Funny interview, he says, Activision Blizzard is not our strategy. It's an accelerant to our strategy. And what got really accelerated after they got ABK? Publishing. And Satya gets on an earnings call and he says, we can now do what we've always set out to do, which is make great games and put them on all platforms. You can't talk to shareholders and get on earnings calls and say things like this if the real reason is like, well, the FTC's making us. No, what he's saying is this is what we've always wanted to do. It makes more sense. And if you really think about it, Satya is speaking as the CEO of a software company, and he's talking like a software CEO. He's like, yeah, this is what we've always wanted to do. We want to put games everywhere. Satya said, and this is another thing. This is another thing to inform your position. Don't just go on assumption. Get some information. During the FTC trial, Satya is like, if I had my way, there wouldn't be exclusives. He literally said his position. It wasn't like, we love exclusives. We think they're great. We're going to do more of them. And the FTC said, no, you're not. It was, Satya's like, yeah, if I had my way, there wouldn't be exclusives. Well, I think he's getting his way. Investors are your owners. You can't hide stuff from them. Yeah. Yeah. So, Team Ambush, I don't necessarily think, I'll say this, what you said is it's just leagues better than the fan fiction drivel that some of these guys put on their podcasts, right? You at least had like a reasonable position to be like, well, I just assumed the FTC was making them do this. They weren't going to let them go, hardcore exclusive with these titles. The FTC doesn't have the ability to do that. They can't like walk in the room and tell Microsoft how to conduct their business. That's not how they operate. So, and the FTC lost their case anyway. So the FTC tried to get, what was it they were trying to file, an injunction or something? They lost their case. They don't have any regulatory power over Xbox publishing games here or there or not. So, again, I think your position is at least somewhat reasonable compared to some of the nonsense I see people saying out there. I saw a clip over the weekend where a guy said that, what did he say? Yeah, he says day and date on PC. He said PlayStation's not all the way there yet, but we know they're going there. And it's like, no, they're not. Let's go back to what I just argued and just said. Listen to the men in charge when they're talking about strategy and when they're talking about money, and you know where things are headed. And it's very clear that PlayStation's not moving toward day and date on PC, as Herman Holst told shareholders on an earnings call just this year. He says, we have a dual approach. We go day and date with live service. Everything else comes later, hoping that it might coax them to come get a PlayStation for a sequel. So and also infrastructure-wise, they're not preparing for day and date. They have a porting company they continue to use that does an amazing job in Nixus, and they're not restructuring their developers. If you started going day and date on PC, you would hire for it. You would restructure your studios to do parallel development. You would make significant changes that would all be signaled to the shareholders, because you'd get on an earnings call and you would say, we're investing this much money to equip all these studios to start doing parallel development so that we can do day and date on PC because we think that we'll make more money by doing so. You would tell your investors that. They're telling their investors the literal opposite of that. They're saying, we do a dual approach, day and date with live service, big tentpole titles we bring later. So the only time you'll ever hear me say that PlayStation is going to start doing day and date on PC, it will be because it's said by somebody in charge in an earnings call. That's why the conversation about Microsoft and Xbox going more into publishing, that's why it was so frustrating. It was painfully obvious that they're telling and signaling to the people who are investing money that this is where we're going. That's when you know you can take that to the bank. Quite literally. Like, no pun intended. You can take that to the bank. When your CEOs and your CFOs start talking about, like, this is where we're headed, this is what we're going to do, that's when you say, oh yeah, this company's changing. They're going to change their philosophy, their core business principles, or they're going to expand into this new market or whatever. You always have to listen to those earnings calls. They're incredibly boring and they're hard to sit through, but Usually, some YouTuber or some journalist, grabs the choice clips and the choice quotes, and we get our info. And we're like, yep, here we go. Here comes the change. The winds of change always start in the boardroom. Always. And then you hear it on the earnings calls. So, I've always thought, based on the Insomniac leaks and just based on the way the market's headed, I always thought by the time we got to the PS6 that PlayStation would be more open to day and date on PC. I've not seen them move in that direction yet. I haven't. So, Ryan Reynolds sees Deadpool becoming more of a supporting character going forward. If he comes back, he's going to be someone else's movie. Channing Tatum, I would happily be a fifth banana in his movie or anyone else's. Yeah, I can't wait for Channing Tatum to get his Gambit movie. He earned it. He frickin' earned it. He was so good. Whoever said the FTC will force him to do day and date? No. He admitted it was an assumption, Shadow. Excuse me. Yeah, what sent us down this rabbit hole was somebody assuming that the FTC was forcing Xbox to publish these games everywhere and to act more like a publisher. Yeah. Oh, Kevin George said something Kevin George was joking around. Oh, the FTC will make Sony do day and date. I see it now in chat. Sorry. Can I just say I love how many gray names there are in chat right now? Like, that means we have a very diverse audience today. I really appreciate that. Like, if you're in my chat right now without a membership, I love that you're here. Like, a lot of the times my chat is just a sea of green names. And it's always like, I guess we're just hanging out with members today. Which is great. I love you guys. I love the members. But I love when the chat is more of a mixture like that. It's a great reason to gift to members. It's a great reason to become a member or just keep coming back and hanging out. You don't have to do a membership. I love seeing the diversity. Also, if you do get a gifted member, make sure to check out the Discord. We would love to see a lot more of you guys hanging out in there. What I'm hearing is cancel my membership? No. Please no. Usually I'm a member, but I'm broke right now. Well, Garrett, hopefully you can scoop up a gifted. I just posted they said they were never going to make Call of Duty exclusive. Yeah, again, if you research this, they were never planning on making Call of Duty exclusive. I remember debating that with a couple of Bleed Green guys. We had a couple of Bleed Green guys that would hang out here, and they don't hang out anymore, or they do, they don't say anything. And I remember debating with them, and I was like, dude, Microsoft is never going to let Xbox make Call of Duty exclusive. The amount of money that they would lose is absurd. It's absurd. And it being on Game Pass didn't move the needle at all. It didn't. 80% of the sales of Black Ops were on PlayStation. Like, the sales distribution and breakdown, it's like it didn't make anybody move. Like, oh, we can get Call of Duty on Game Pass. We better go get an Xbox. You're wrong. There are leaked emails showing Phil and Matt were flirting with the idea. Who reported on this? I covered the ABK merger extensively. I've never seen those. Why didn't they only offer a 3-year deal? Because after those 3 years are up, they would then enter in another deal with a better royalty share for themselves, as is evidenced by Bobby Kotick doing exactly that. Bobby Kotick literally forced Xbox into a better royalty share for Activision Blizzard because it's Call of Duty. What are you going to do? So, you dudes are memory holding it? No, we're not. Homie, I covered the ABK deal up one side and down the other. I never remember reading emails where they were like toying with the idea. They might have been speaking about it in the negative. I don't think they ever were like, yeah, we should do that. It was always no, we couldn't possibly do that. They didn't have any models. They didn't even draw up any spec sheets on what it would look like and how much money they could or couldn't make. They didn't tease it out at all. When Phil Spencer said, we don't even have a model for taking Call of Duty exclusive, he was telling the truth. They never even modeled it because it was like, are you insane? 50% of the annual sales of Call of Duty are on PlayStation. Oh, Ella Purnell's going to be at the Game Awards. She is awesome. Alex gifts a single member and bumps the line to 29. Thank you so much, Alex. Microsoft CFO, making Call of Duty an Xbox exclusive was never discussed. Microsoft CFO Amy Hood, in her written declaration submitted as part of the Microsoft vs. FTC hearing, said they were never discussing the possibility of making Call of Duty an Xbox console exclusive. Then again, why offer a 3 deal originally? I already answered you. Were you not listening? I will answer you again. They tried to get them to take a 3-year deal to shorten the amount of time that they would have the marketing, because PlayStation had the marketing, and they were like, okay, well, we'll give you 3 more years. They didn't want to give them longer than that. Secondly, they only offered them a 3-year deal because you're going to shorten the amount of time before you can then renegotiate and get a better royalty cut. Like Microsoft wants to make as much money off Call of Duty as possible. If you get PlayStation to agree to a 3-year deal, thank you, Stone Spire, setting it up. We're now 20 away from 50. We'll see if you guys can summon one of the big boys today. Thank you, Stone Spire. Like, think about it like this. Just track with me here, Sam. If the 3-year contract deal would have gotten agreed to and then it ends, Microsoft can go to PlayStation and say, okay, now we'll give you another 3-year deal, but this time around, we want 80% of every Call of Duty copy sold, and we're only going to give you 20%. They never talked about it with Amy Hood. That doesn't mean Phil Spencer and Matt Booty didn't talk about it between themselves. Sam, I think we might be passing in the night. I'm not saying it was literally never discussed. There are probably emails where, like, they uttered the phrase, but it was never legitimately considered. They didn't draw up any models. They didn't do any projections on what it would have done to revenue, which means it was never seriously considered. It was always presumed and assumed, yeah, we couldn't possibly do that. Great analogy from Zuby. Zuby says, it's like if someone calls the Chiefs and asks to trade for Mahomes and gets hung up on, and the NFL media reports that trade talks have occurred. Right. I think if they very quickly, dismissively, or in the negative talked about that in an email, that's not what we were referring to. We weren't saying that, like, they never uttered the phrase once. It was, this was never seriously considered, ever. From the earliest of stages, it was like, no, we won't do that. You simply can't take on that amount of revenue loss. It would have been disastrous. There were leaked files on GitHub that got deleted. Then someone else hosted them elsewhere. The emails between Booty and Phil were in reference to Bethesda. Yeah, Sam, are you getting your wires crossed? There was an email exchange between Booty and Phil about Bethesda. I don't think they ever talked about Call of Duty. So you're saying there were emails between Phil, hang on, let's just go to Google. Phil Spencer, Matt Booty, Call of Duty exclusive email. Let's see. I'm not seeing any reporting on it. I feel like that would have been huge. Here's why I think you're wrong, and here's why I think you're confused. I think you're mixing things up. That would have been an enormous focal point of the trial. It was both ZeniMax and ABK, not just ZeniMax. No, I think you're incorrect. Find it and source it, or I think what you're saying is completely misinformed. Source it for me. Source it. You have to source this, and I'm going to tell you why. It would have been an enormous focal point of the trial. Sony would have hammered away on that. They'd have been like, there's an email right here of Matt Booty and Phil Spencer discussing making Call of Duty exclusive. And Phil Spencer and Matt Booty would have been questioned about it. That might have bolstered the FTC's argument, right? The FTC would have focused on that. Sony would have focused on that and been like, they were discussing it. It's right here in an email. That would have been a smoking gun moment that Phil and Matt would have had to speak to directly when they were questioned. It'd been like, you gentlemen were discussing it right here in an email, and now you're telling us that you're never going to do it? You're not going to find it online? I only have a zip download? Yeah, no. It was never seriously considered. It wasn't. It was not. And it wasn't a part of discovery in the FTC trial. Because if it was a part of the FTC trial discovery, we would have it. This GitHub leak that you've got your hands on, I'm not sure they were questioned about in the trial. They were not questioned about that email. That would have been a huge focal point. That would have made headlines. Phil Spencer and Matt Booty discussed making Call of Duty exclusive in an email. That would have been covered. Everything going forward, not just new IP, everything WoW. Yeah, that was the email about ZeniMax. Yeah. Tim Stewart, the CFO, was surprised when Phil Spencer told ZeniMax that all future property would be exclusive. Yeah. Yeah. You told me to look it up and now it's not online. Yeah, it's really convenient that nobody has it. Like, why that would be reported on? That would have been reported on big time if those two gentlemen were caught discussing that. I recorded the trial. I heard them talk about it. Again, Sam, I think we're passing in the night here. They were questioned about Call of Duty going exclusive. And they said, we don't even have a model for it. They were never told, hey, here is an email that you discussed it. Do you want to know why I know they didn't do that? Because that would falsify your claim that the emails aren't available anywhere. They would be available. It would be a matter of public record. They would be visible through discovery. We would see them. So your claim that they discussed it, but the email's not available anymore, and they were also questioned about the email, you are making contradictory statements. If these emails existed and they were questioned about the emails in the FTC trial, we would be able to see those emails via discovery. They would be slightly redacted, but we would be able to see them. It's literally saying the exact opposite of what Microsoft was fighting for. The whole case was about Microsoft saying they had no interest in making Call of Duty exclusive. If they mentioned it in passing to each other, in an email, that's not what we were discussing or talking about. We were talking about it was never truly considered because it wasn't. Maybe all the other places deleted records of it. That's not a thing, bro. That's not a thing. When a trial happens, all of those things are... Right now, you can go and pull up all those documents from that trial. You can pull everything up. They're not gone. Like, they don't get... That's not a thing. There's not some scrubbing effort that happened to rid the world of these emails that you're saying exist. Not a thing. I'll come back to this when I can post an email somewhere. Go for it. Go for it. If, again, it would be a matter of public record if they were actually questioned about them, because the trial is public. We have all the transcripts from the trial. We have all the discovered documents from the trial. We have all of that. It's all available. So, stop indulging him. Stop telling me what to do. That's more obnoxious than arguing with him. Like, he came in, he said something, we falsified the claim, he can't substantiate his claim, and, we are naturally moving on. We're not moving on because some, whiny chatter is telling us what to do. Publishers are waiting until the last moment to announce games for the third and fourth quarter, with the possible GTA 6 delay looming. Yeah, I mean, in their recent call about GTA 6, they said they're still on target. Now, also, people close to the project I believe, told Bloomberg that it's such a big game, it still could slip. It's just such an enormous game, like it still could slip out of next year. I don't think it's going to get delayed. I think they're going to make sure that it comes out next year. I think they're going to work to ensure that. But again, a game that large can encounter all kinds of problems. And, you know, what are you going to do? If you find it, I will apologize personally to you. There you go. Yeah, Sam wasn't being rude. He was being respectful. Yeah, there was no reason to just, like, ignore him. Like, it was, you know, made a claim. We pressed on it, and I believe, you know, we falsified it. Anyway. What else did we cover in the open? We covered the handheld. We covered Ubisoft. We covered... what else was it? Oh, yeah. There's a leak that there will be a South of Midnight trailer at the Game Awards, and it's getting a March release date. I wonder if Xbox is really, really going to turn up the cadence. Like, are they really going to turn up the cadence? And that basically means you're going to get Stalker and then Indiana Jones, and they'll take basically a break for January. They'll do a developer direct in January. And then February is Avowed. And then March is South of Midnight. And then we know Doom the Dark Ages is coming as well. So it feels like... I don't want to get everybody's hopes up because we've been here before. But it feels like they are potentially about to turn up the cadence heat and actually start having things hit in more of a rapid succession. Now, not that I'm really excited about Avowed because of the 30 FPS thing, but yeah. Really hope we get a Light No Fire gameplay trailer. Yeah, that would be awesome. The cadence has to go up. They have how many studios and they haven't put a game out? Oh, stupid Chrome. I wonder what causes that. It just says that it ran out of memory. I literally have... I have 32 gigs of RAM and only like 11 are being used right now. Like, I don't know why that happens. Chrome pushed out some kind of an update recently, and they're truly going to make me finally abandon them as a browser. It's just terrible. We haven't talked much about the Steam console rumor. Yeah, you're right. We didn't talk much about that. I put that on the thumbnail and in the title and the description. Do you guys think... Now, I've seen a lot of different theories about the Steam console. I've seen people theorizing that this is in response to... this is in response to, like, the Xbox situation. You know... the Xbox hardware situation. A lot of people are theorizing like Steam sees like, oh, there's going to be a vacancy in the market. We could capitalize. I don't know if that's why they would do it. I just wonder if they know there's people that would buy it. Is the Black Ops 6 loading screen AI slop? Fans are giving it the finger. Activision's embroiled in backlash over the Call of Duty Black Ops 6 in-game art that some fans have slanted as being AI slop. Oh, yeah, he does. He has like totally an extra finger. How do they not catch that? How do you... how do you do that? Anyway. Low-key, Microsoft may have a good run coming up. Indie's doing well into the 80s, followed by Doom. Maybe Avowed is carried by PC, which won't be locked. Yeah, I think Xbox is about to finally have a really good steady cadence, even if Avowed ends up being something that like I'm not super interested in. I'm interested in South of Midnight, and I'm interested in Doom: The Dark Ages, you know? So I think they could have a really good slate next year. This year was pretty inconsistent. I did not like Hellblade 2. Stalker 2 is, you know, people are enjoying it, but it was a pretty buggy mess when it came out, and it's also not a first-party studio, so it was just an exclusive, so you can't really hang that on Xbox. But, hang on a minute. We've got new reports on GTA 6. Missed multiple deadlines, has significant online mode with microtransaction. Rockstar asked writers to be less crude toward minorities. Oh, gosh. Schreier has published a new report about this. So did he just publish this today? Did he just publish this today? I can't see the date. Yeah, it's today. All right, I'll grab this for tomorrow. Anytime we do anything with GTA 6, we got that and Pal World. Okay, we got two strong leads for tomorrow. Two strong stories for tomorrow. A GTA 6 parody game has showed up on the PlayStation Store as well. I never post political stuff, but this is funny. Bro, she was so upset she used her telekinesis right in front of the media. She doesn't give Have you guys seen this tweet? This is a legendary tweet, bro. She was so upset she used her telekinesis in front of the media. It has 2.6 million views. That's a great tweet, bro. That's good. She's like, I'm out, bro. I'm so sick of this crap. Oh, gosh. Whoo-wee. Sometimes somebody just says something in just the right way, and I just think, oh, that's funny. That's good work. That's good work. That's a good tweet. Oh, man. I think the Steam console would do well if done right. Not every Steam game is compatible with controllers. The thing about it is, so there's two things I kind of responded to. I would buy two of them. I would buy two Steam consoles if they updated their policy on family share. Because, like, when, like, an online co-op game comes out, I would love to test that out with my wife. But what we would have to do is I'd have to buy the game twice, and then if we end up not liking it, now I got to refund it twice. And that's just a dadgum headache. I love the way that PlayStation does family share. I buy the game once, Madam plays on her account, I play on my account, we can play together. We played that game, what's it called? Survivors? Something Survivors. Entropy Survivors. We played Entropy Survivors the other night for, I don't even know, 2 hours. It's got a 4.91 on PlayStation. It's $10. It's a little heavy on the colors and the stimuli, but fun. And I only had to buy it once. Guys, do me a quick favor. Try to get us to 300 likes, man. Thanks for such a solid and strong turnout today. Let's try to get the like count up, though. And check to see if you have a membership renewal. Let's keep the member goal going as well. So to me, Borderlands has officially announced, prepare yourselves. We're about to crank things up to the next effing level at the Game Awards. Who's ready to get their first look at the most ambitious Borderlands yet? They just tweeted that. 2 minutes ago. The Steam box is DOA. The Steam console is going to bomb, says Corey, like worse than the Wii U bomb. Who is this thing for? PC gamers won't buy a fixed box, and console gamers already have PlayStation, and Steam has no exclusives. They don't have they do, but they don't. They do have exclusives, but they don't. They don't ever talk about it. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that, maybe not mistakes, but I think that's a serious lack of capitalization. There are tons of games you can only play on Steam. A ridiculous amount. What are you talking about? They don't have their own exclusives, like ones that they pay for or ones that they publish or develop. But there's an unbelievable amount of exclusives. It's the only place I can play Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. It's the only place I can play Karate Survivor. It's the only place I can play that game that I played. It looks like Karate Survivor just had an update. That game with Hilly, Sunken Land. It's the only game that I can play Portal Revolution. It's the only place that I can play Windblown, which is the top-down ARPG that I was super addicted to for like 3 straight hours. The only reason I stopped playing is because I want to play it co-op. And I'd love to play it co-op with my wife, but like, I got to set up 2 PCs. I got to buy the game twice, you know. Valve have their own exclusives, Dota, Counter-Strike 2, Half-Life. You know what I'm saying? Like, they have theirs, but the vast majority of the exclusives I'm talking about are not theirs, is what I'm saying. For every one game that Xbox has exclusive, Steam has 20. They just don't call them exclusives. They don't use that language. Randy Pitchford says, yes, there is gameplay in the trailer. He says, also, in addition to a lot of in-game footage, I will share a sick, never-before-seen original cinematic sequence depicting a moment that occurs about halfway between the end of Borderlands 3 and the beginning of Borderlands 4. I am excited. All right. We got a nice show for tomorrow for you guys already. Nice show. Lots to discuss. Keep it all chill right now. Let's not cannibalize tomorrow's show. But I'm excited. This week's gonna heat up. Today we're off to a little bit of a lull, a little bit of a slow start with respect to the news. Like, I didn't have anything absolutely burning to discuss, but yeah. Good. It's about to heat up because of the Game Awards. A lot of my friends have moved to Steam. I'd buy a Steam console if I could play with them again. Yeah, I don't necessarily know if the Steam console would be a roaring success, or would it just think of it this way. Think of it from this angle. When we were talking about the PlayStation handheld, I said, I don't think the goal is to beat Nintendo. But being in second place behind Nintendo ain't a bad spot to be. Okay? It ain't a bad spot to be. If Valve says, hey, Xbox has all but completely stagnated within the console market, let's get in there and take that third place spot. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, third place in the console market ain't that bad if it's not. Think of it from this perspective. If it's not your primary focus, if it's just sort of additive to their business focus, I don't think that's a bad spot to be. I really don't. You guys can submit questions just like Lone Wolf just did. Members, take advantage of this. Take advantage of being able to submit questions like this. He says, do you think Rivals achieves what Powerl achieved? I'll post their early numbers in Discord when you read this question. I saw you guys compare those numbers a little bit earlier. I don't think so. Powerworld tapped into the Pokemon fandom, and I think that that's far bigger than Marvel. Like, I don't think you can rival. That would be like trying to outsell, I don't know if there's another good example. Pokemon is just insane. Its popularity is just insane. Pokemon is also globally I think far more popular than Marvel. Like, Marvel has obviously done an incredible job. The movie's crushed. They did very well. But I don't think a Marvel game is going to be able to rival a game that looks like Pokemon. Like, Palworld hit like a level of virality that I don't know if you can do that just because it's like, oh, we've got Marvel IP. They've already halfway to Palworld's 2-week numbers after 3 days. Well, wait, how long did it take? Okay, so Palworld hit 19 million in less than 2 weeks. They hit 10 million. Rivals hit 10 million in a 3-day period. What did Palworld do that opening week? You might be right. They might be on pace to match it. I just don't know. Here's the difference. I think Palworld hit virality, and that's something you cannot match. It's almost impossible to match that. It went viral. I don't think Rivals is going viral. I just think it's Marvel, so everybody's playing it. Yeah, Palworld had a 2 million player peak on Steam. To be fair, Eugene, at the time, it was like the only place you could play it. So Rivals is definitely dealing with the fact that, like, it's free and you can also play it on PlayStation. You can also play it on Xbox. So that's going to disperse the player base a little bit. I think you're right, though. I don't think... Jez Corden has said that Jeff Keighley cooked, and he replied to his own tweet saying, "What I'm expected without hard spoilers. Not a ton from Xbox first-party studios, pending Xbox's own dev direct in Q1. Lots of epic multi-plat reveals, other fun stuff." Thank you, Jez. I'm going to throw that in the show tomorrow as well. Palworld sold over 6 million copies in 4 days. Our all-time peak player count has surpassed 1.7 million. Thank you very much. Palworld was on Xbox as well. PlayStation isn't making up that extra 1.5 million. What was Palworld's peak? Because, dude, I don't know. Marvel on PlayStation? Oh, 2.1. I thought it was 1.1. No, Palworld hit 2.1 million peak. Here's the challenge, Eugene. You're talking about player peak numbers. Right now, Marvel Rivals has got more players than Palworld did in the same amount of time. Now, the disadvantage to Palworld is you had to buy it. Marvel Rivals is free. 10 million players in 3 days versus Palworld's 6 million players in 4 days. Palworld's still more impressive in my book because you had to pay for it. But here's the pushback I am going to say. I don't think Marvel Rivals can compete with concurrent numbers because Palworld's the kind of game that people are going to play for much longer play sessions. Like, you'll play Marvel Rivals, you'll grind for an hour or two. People are going to play Palworld for 7 hours straight and not stop. They're very different style games. So, comparing their concurrent player numbers, I don't think you're going to get a fair comparison there. As far as total number of players, like I said, I think Marvel Rivals will have a lot of staying power given that it's PvP and they can add a Marvel character and everybody loses their mind. What's up with the rumor of Wolverine coming to Xbox? Where did that rumor come from? I've not seen that rumor, FCAT. What do you think about PoE 2? I really, really hope I can get a casual character for my wife. People are recommending the Ranger. I had her on the Mercenary, and the switching ammo thing, it just... If a game asks my wife to do a couple of things at the same time, she doesn't want to do that. She loved playing as the Demon Hunter in Diablo 3, and she would just like cycle through her abilities, and she especially loves just like holding down the double crossbows. She's like, brrr. I didn't play for much because I had the latency problem, which I fixed, and then I made sure Twitter knew that I fixed it because the tweet kind of went a little crazy. my tweet of the input latency got 670,000 views. My tweet of the solution has 250,000 views. So, Path of Exile 2 feels really good when you get rid of the latency problem. Like, I beat that first boss by myself, but when her and I were playing with the latency, the input latency, it was like impossible. Like, I couldn't get away from his attacks because everything was a second after I needed it to be. So I kept rolling late to get away from his slams and stuff. It was super frustrating. So I was like, yeah, this game's not for us, babe. It's too intense, I guess. And then I came back the next day and I was like, good golly, the latency's bad. And people on Twitter had some suggestions. And Sorceress is beginner friendly from what I've heard. Yeah, I've heard either the Sorceress or the Ranger. Yeah. Could we get 26 more likes on the video? You guys are the best. We're a little behind on pace for members. We're going to want to end today with about 100. We've got a nice setup there for a 20 bomb. See if any of the big boys are in hiding. Huh? Path of Exile 2 is amazing. It looks so fun. Like, I'm watching people's gameplay, and I've got people saying, they're like, I think it was Sneaky Wolf. He's like, dude, I'm a total beginner. And he's like, and I'm having a great time. So, it's immediately better gameplay than D4. I think it's just the moment to moment, the ability to dodge, the ability to just constantly sort of be in motion. Yeah. I think it's a huge uptick in just it feeling fun, you know? The rumor is from the lounge. I don't know what that is, FCat. What's the lounge? All right, let me pull up another question here. Sneaky Wolf says, if Valve wants to make a console, do you think they'd also hop on the wagon of buying studios to lock them down? No. I don't think Valve's interested in that fight or that battle. I think they would just want, again, if they feel like they can sneak into third place in the console market, again, I just don't think that's a bad place to be if it's additive. Do you hear what I'm saying? Like, Steam's primary function is they are the biggest gaming storefront in existence. They make an absurd amount of money and their operating cost is incredibly low. Pushing out a console, if they think they can get production and the price point and the margins right, and then they enter that console market and they potentially can sneak in to the third place spot, and that's additive to what they do, I think to them that's probably a win, but I think they're going to want to keep their operating costs low. That's one of the beauties of their business design, is like, you don't want to start taking on costs of studios and publishing. That's not something I think they would want to shoulder. Apparently a timed exclusive. I don't know why you would make Wolverine a timed exclusive on Xbox. Their hardware saturation is so bad, and their purchase ratios from their consumers for games is terrible. I don't know why you would ever, like, I can't see it. I can't see PlayStation greenlighting that. After everything Herman Hulst said just this year about their dual approach on PC, the last thing I would expect them to do is a timed exclusive Marvel game, unless that was part of the stipulation of the licensing with Disney. That doesn't make an ounce of sense. I can't see PlayStation agreeing to that. I'll be honest with you. I really don't. Because Spider-Man is so stupidly popular compared to Wolverine. Like, why would you take that on the chin for Wolverine? Like, you got Spidey. You got the King. You got the King of the Castle. He is the most popular superhero globally. Nobody competes with Spidey. Nobody. Not Supes, not Batman, nobody. Spider-Man is God in the hero world. He just is. And I don't think you would be like, okay, well, we've got the biggest and the best locked down as our own, and we've got it, and it's ours, and everybody, it's synonymous with PlayStation. but we're going to agree to timed exclusivity on Wolverine? I think they would just say, no, thank you. We won't even make the game then. We're not going to waste our studio's time and talents building a game for Xbox. I don't think PlayStation would agree to that. I don't think so. Steam Machine is a discontinued series, a small form factor game designed to operate SteamOS to provide a home game console experience. Okay, here's the problem with citing the fact that they failed to do it once before. Everybody did the same thing when the PS Portal rumors circulated. And they are all wrong, and they were all dumb. Well, they failed to do it before, so they'll never do it again. Sound logic. But everybody said PS Portal's not going to happen. There's no way they're going to do it. And they all cited the fact that, like, they bailed on the Vita and the Vita failed. And it was like, huh? And then the Portal came out and has done incredibly well. Right? Batman has caught Spider-Man? No. No. Not even remotely close, homie. The Spider-Man movies, the recent Spider-Man movies as well as Into the Spider-Verse, and then the Spider-Man games, no. There's not been enough Batman content recently for Batman to close the gap. Spider-Man is the king. He is the most popular superhero globally. Now in America, like Batman and Superman, I think volley for first and second. But that's because you're in America. As soon as you go global, Spidey wins. It's not even close. So citing the fact that like Steam failed to do something before, so they'll never do it again. People did the same thing with PlayStation with the Portal. They're like, no, there's no way. Well, and then the Portal came out. And it's done way better than even PlayStation expected. So, if you look at the PSP 20 years ago, selling over 80 million, and now you have a market that's way more receptive to handheld gaming and gaming on the go, I think it stands to reason that PlayStation might be doing it. On the other side of that coin, I think Valve could be looking at the console landscape and saying, hey, Xbox is leaving a bit of a vacancy here. We could step in. Oh, even Spider-Man's #1 in the U.S.? I thought whenever we looked at just the U.S., like Batman and Superman were up there above him. But yeah, if he's probably is. Again, in light of the recent movies, I think he's just skyrocketed back up in popularity. The Marvel movies as well as the Into the Spider-Verse movies. What will Steam offer that PlayStation and Xbox doesn't? I don't know, thousands of games that you can't play on PlayStation and Xbox. The same thing Nintendo offers. Nintendo has tons of games that you can't get on PlayStation and Xbox. Think about it. In a world where people buy something because they can't get the games, they can only get the games there, that Steam has that. I'd buy a Steam console before I'd ever buy an Xbox, says Eugene. Right, because you get the Xbox games, and then you get all those Steam games. The Steam Deck has done quite well, and now people have a familiarity with SteamOS, and they tend to really like it. That wasn't the case back when they first tried the Steam machine. I think that's a well-made point, Patrick Hugh. I wouldn't discount Steam out of this potential race. I wouldn't. I think it's a good possibility that they might consider doing it because, again, I think the landscape has shifted a little bit, and they could be saying, yeah, that we could go out. And again, you have to hear how I'm framing this. If they can get third place in the console race, and it's just additive for them, I don't see why that's bad for them. I don't see why that would be a loss. It's just additive. It's just more potential consumers. I don't know. It's only taken 3 days for Overwatch's worst meta to manifest in Marvel Rivals. Games change, GOATs is inevitable. What's going on? What's the go-to strategy? One of Blizzard's biggest Overwatch-shaped headaches is now NetEase's to solve. Like I said this morning, I said, listen to me now. The biggest thing they're going to have to face with Rivals is, can you balance it and can you get a pro scene going? That's going to determine its longevity. Because if you can't balance it, people will just get irritated and they'll leave. You know? It's all about what old chips they can buy in bulk. What would be the biggest stream? What the biggest Steam box exclusive? Steam most played games. Well, probably CS:GO 2 would be at the tippity top. So Counter-Strike 2, and then followed by let's see here. I would say Dota 2. You can only play... Can you play Dota outside of Steam? Are there ways? I don't think there's ways to do that, is there? So probably Counter-Strike 2 and Dota 2. Can you play either? I don't think you can play either of those games outside of Steam, can you? They're... Half-Life? Presently, I wouldn't say Half-Life would be one of their biggest exclusives, no. Not presently. Like Lifetime, you would say it's one of the biggest. Yeah, Valve's the developer of Counter-Strike 2, and Valve's the developer of Dota 2. I don't know if they've made them available anywhere else. Smite? No, Smite's available outside of Steam. Isn't it? I swear I played Smite on my Xbox. Smite's available on consoles, is it not? Oh, is Dota on Epic now? Can you get Dota on the Epic Game Store? Dota 2 Epic Game Store. I don't follow it. Dota is available on Steam, not Epic Game Store, according to Google's AI. Dota 2 and Counter-Strike are exclusive to Steam. Yeah, those are gargantuan games. Those are absolute Leviathan games. So, but here's the question. Would those appeal to console bros? You know what I mean? Is a console bro going to be like, oh yeah, dude, can't wait to get a Steam console so I can play Counter-Strike 2 and Dota 2? I don't know. What about Rust? Can you get Rust on consoles? I feel like you can. Yes, you can. Rust is available on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Okay, yeah. I didn't think Rust was exclusive. So those would be your biggest. And then obviously you had situations like what happened with... Wait, why is Crab Game the 27th most played game on Steam right now? You used to be able to click on this to get to... Oh, now I can't. Okay. Crab Game has a 91%. It's free. Guys, we have our weekly goal. We have our weekly goal. Make Hilly and I play Crab Game this week for Bad Ideas with Hilly if we hit our goal. Here we go. We don't need the trailer to have other people in there like that. Come on, man. This is it. There's your goal. Crab Game. Start gifting members, hurry. You can make Hilly and I play that this Friday. There's your weekly goal. The Steam Squid Game. Called Crab Game. No console player ever has been like, cannot wait to play Counter-Strike on a controller or Dota on a controller. This thing is DOA. I want it to come out just so we can see how badly it does. What's you want to watch, Mama? We don't have Paramount Plus anymore, do we? No, we don't. Yeah, it looks like you can watch it with Paramount Plus. If not, it's a rent or a buy, according to what I'm finding here. I thought it might have been included with Prime, but it's not. And until we get a new Star Trek season, I won't pick up Paramount Plus again. We watched all of Star Trek The Next Generation, and then we watched Strange New Worlds. Yeah, the question would be, if you're going to do a Steam console... Let me shut the door. The question is, if you're going to do a Steam console, could you get people to buy it off of the games? Or would you get people to buy it off of the functionality of PC games on your TV? I don't really know. I don't know quite how you'd have to market it, because you'd have to think through that. Like, how do you position it? Do you position it as, here are all these great games that you can't get anywhere else? And or do you position it as, oh yeah, I mean, this is basically a super convenient, gaming PC for your TV, without all of the fuss of a PC. A Steam console would give developers a standard piece of hardware to develop and port games to PC better. This would fix the issues with Steam machines, which were too fragmented. Locoism says you would need exclusives, period. CSGO has been on console for years already. It's not going to sell Steam consoles. Yeah, but Counter-Strike 2 is pretty popular. I mean, you're probably right that would not be one to convince console bros with, because it just wouldn't feel good on controller. I don't think Valorant has done all that amazing on console because of that. Adam Lee with 19 months of member. I'd like to see them put an app on PlayStation and Xbox if they don't do a console. Thanks so much for renewing that membership. Guys, as a reminder, if you are paying for your own membership, I can't distinguish between gifted and paying. So if you upgrade to Member Plus, I can. It's $1 more. You go up from $5 to $6, and then I can add this to the total. So if you're paying for your own membership, consider upgrading. You can use the upgrade command, and we do count those as 2 towards the goal. Eugene says, easily could see Xbox users buying it. Easily could see PC users buying it so they have something more convenient for TV gaming. And definitely could see PlayStation users choosing it over Xbox. I think Eugene's making an excellent point here. I think he's making an excellent point. You could see a lot of the Xbox guys doing what Doc Dark did, which was, I'm done with this console nonsense. I got sold a bill of goods, so I'm switching, and then you just buy this thing and you plug it into your TV with an HDMI cable, and then that's the end of it. You just run an Ethernet, run some cables. Not run some cables, connect your controller, especially if it lets you sync controllers super easily so you don't have like cables going across your television. Congratulations on the launch of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Who did this? What's the problem with the picture of Todd Howard? Anyway, he was tired of the crappy console thing. But no, I kind of agree. I agree with what Eugene is saying. You could see Xbox guys buy it. You could also see PC guys buy it. I have gaming rigs in my living room, and I would buy 2 of these if Steam would update their family sharing policy to let me buy a game once and play 2 people on it at the same time. PC Gamer says, Path of Exile 2 is great, but it can't match the dopamine hit of a good Diablo 4 loot drop. Stop. PC Gamer, Did you guys let Rod Ferguson write this? I'm just kidding. Rod Ferguson is suddenly ghostwriting for PC Gamer. Look, man, Path of Exile 2 is really good, but I mean, nothing can match that dopamine hit of the loot drops in Diablo. Listen, there's something called too much of a good thing, you know? Steam sees the hardware that gets used on their platform. They know they can succeed now with console hardware. That's another good point. That's another good point. Avowed gaming director reveals new details about companions. More interactivity and reactivity. Based on events and conversations and quests that you're encountering in the game to have a little bit more say about their journey together. Avowed's companions will have opt-in engagement. That doesn't seem worthy of an article, but news is slow, so this is still the scariest scene ever to me. Can somebody tell me what this is from? He was in Lost. What movie is this from? Somebody says, it's remarkable how frightening the scene is. It still manages to be after many, many viewings. He was in Lost. He was part of the Dharma Initiative. At first, I was a little worried everybody would be talking about updating drivers and all that other stuff. To me, it's easy as a console, and I couch play. Here's the issue, says Corey. Consoles are usually subsidized, so the cost of a console is usually sold at a loss and made up by digital game sales. Steam would have to be willing to take a loss to sell the console. Well, hang with me here, Corey. They make a ton of money on software sales. Oh, that's right. I thought it was at 2. Get out. Get out of my office. That's a little too early for that. Maybe tonight on the couch. Steam is undoubtedly selling the deck for a loss, so they have that willingness. Yeah, it's subsidized by the fact that people buy the games. Warren says, this has nothing to do with hardware or an Xbox handheld before anybody asks. Oh, the Falling X? Everybody seems to think it's Football Club coming to Xbox. It's coming. I don't know if... Is that what they would they tweet about that? Like that? Logic Wow Wow? No. She said when she gets back, my daughter has to go through 8 months of eye therapy. Everyone cross your fingers that insurance is cool and covers it because she needs it. I don't need more bills with the kids. We're already doing a bunch of dental stuff. But she's like, it's 8 months. It's far away. I want you to think about that. Like, it's basically me, birthing a child. And I was like, no, it's not. I was like, get out. And then she said, well, pour me a drink when I get back. I was like, it's going to be too early in the day for that. I'll pour her a drink tonight. So yeah, no bow chick. I mean, maybe, but that's not what I was insinuating. You're willing to watch this thing fail? Yeah, I don't think it'll fail. Here's why I don't think it'll fail. I think the market is shifting in a way where a company like Valve can have something like a Steam Deck and a home console all sort of attached to their main hub of money, which is their platform, which is their storefront. So it's all attached to their storefront. They can subsidize those things as additive positions in the market, and it's not like, yeah, it failed. If they can get into third place as Xbox shifts back from pushing hardware, they can get into third place, and that's just purely additive for them. So it's not necessarily a failure. It's just purely additive. The same way that PlayStation could do the Portal and turn on cloud. If there are people who buy the Portal and never buy a PlayStation 5, because you can actually do that now. You can buy a Portal and just purely use it as a cloud gaming device. It's, you know, it's $200. Then that could be additive to PlayStation's market. Fault the Gavin station. Oh yeah, Wolf Saints here. I'll let people see your question. He said, so Steam's taking another shot at the Steam machine. Possible. It's possible. Yeah, I saw the Call of Duty actors quit because of no protection from AI. Yeah. We got a question here from Spider Senseless. Says, if it happens, which specific studio, Naughty Dog, Santa Monica, do you think can really take care of Far Cry or Rainbow Six or even revitalize them to not be the same or die out? I mean, if I was playing fantasy football with these studios and these properties, I would give Assassin's Creed to Sucker Punch. I would give Far Cry to Naughty Dog. And I would give Splinter Cell to... I don't know. I'd give Splinter Cell to Santa Monica or... No, I'd give Splinter Cell to Bend, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I don't necessarily want those studios suddenly working on those long-standing franchises, but if I was just, like, playing with it and saying, you know... I feel like Naughty Dog could make an amazing Far Cry. Like, make it super visceral, bring back the gravitas of, like, Vaz in Far Cry 3. Insomniac? What would I give Insomniac? I don't know. Splinter to Gorilla since they made Killzone? Yeah. Splinter Cell to Hideo? Yeah, give Splinter Cell to Kojima. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that could be pretty good. Like, really good. Like, as far as really revitalizing, reinventing. Yeah. All right, guys, take a quick second and smash the like button. We're at 300 likes. I'm going to take a very, very brief break, and I'll be right back. I am going to hit some ads, so thank you guys so much for sticking around and get those membership renewals in before we'll make a quick transition here in a moment. I'll be right back. All right. I'm back. All right, if you guys want to scramble on the goal or the... is the super chat thing not working? No, it's working. Okay. I wasn't sure if the timer glitched out. You got like 15 minutes. We'll go to Writer's Room in like 15. You can submit questions as well. We're at the end of the queue, so I don't have any new questions. We'll set Writer's Room for 1. Got used to chair, sorry. Hey! I matter more than the chair, alright? Okay, there we go. I not realize Ubi was going to sell for around $2 billion. I thought it was $20 billion. Wait, who's saying that Ubi would sell for $2 billion? That can't be correct. I mean, I know their valuation is probably lower than it would have been a long time ago, but there's no way. That's less than Bungie went for. Who is saying $2 billion? Hey, a brand new member from Furry of Astro. You love to see it. I want to see more white badges. I do. And if you decide that you like the membership and the extra access to content in the Discord, bump up to Member Plus. Anytime you do that, it counts as 2. We really want everybody paying for their own membership to be at Plus. I wish I could like hide the $5 tier because I can't distinguish between you and a gifted after this point. I can't tell. So thank you, Fury of Astro. I appreciate you very, very much. They're not that low. There ain't no way they're selling for... You have to be profitable to be valuable. Okay. But Eugene, you're not just buying a profitable engine. You're buying IP. You would be getting Assassin's Creed. You would be getting Rainbow Six Siege. You would be getting Far Cry. You would be getting Splinter Cell and The Crew. And there's no way. Ubisoft's worth is listed at 1.8. Who is claiming that? That doesn't seem... Are they that... Is it purely based off of how far their share value has dropped? We don't want Sony buying IP alone. That's how crap gets shelved. We would want them to at least have a shelf of the associated studios. Right, well, because you know Sony would just shelve Assassin's Creed. Well, at least I think they would. The value of a publicly traded company is based on their stock value. Nothing else really matters. Ubisoft current valuation. StockAnalysis.com claims that Ubisoft Entertainment has a market cap or net worth of $1.84 billion. What? Good golly. Yeah, I could see PlayStation trying to snag them then. That's not out of PlayStation's reach at all. I thought they would have been a whole lot more expensive just because of their... Because that's not, you know, that's obviously that's not my area of expertise. I would have just assumed, like, their IP alone. Their IP alone would have them in a better position. Jiminy Christmas. Well, no, I have to DM you about the Ubisoft stuff behind the scenes. You know I'm connected. Meant to message you yesterday. I know you're connected? When have you substantiated that you're connected before? I'm not sure what you're referring to. Nobody is buying them because nobody wants the PR hit of firing 20,000 people. Yeah, the operating cost alone would make it just it's going to be terrible. Whoever ends up getting them, it's going to be awful. What happens in the aftermath? I don't care who does it. It's coming. It's coming. Like, it'll be bad. I mean, I think it's unavoidable, and it sucks. That's a lot of people that are going to be out of a job. They've reached such an insane size. Operating costs of that company, I think that's going to be one of the major barriers of a buyout. People are going to be like, I don't want you. I want them, and them. I just want the IP and one or two of the studios. And that's it. It's going to be Tencent. It probably will be Tencent. Joker Quinn with the question. We got 10 minutes before we get out of here, guys. So thank you so much again to Fury for doing a membership. Keep it going. You can submit questions as well as a member. And Joker Quinn says, do you think we see anything regarding the God of War remake or remasters at the Game Awards? I don't know. I don't really have a timeline guess on that one. And RPG, welcome back as a member plus. Thank you so much. If that's an upgrade, tell me. I count upgrades as double. I mean, I can actually check on the back end if it's an upgrade or not. We currently have over 600 people paying for their own membership, but only 523 of you are at Member Plus. Oh, yeah, that was an upgrade. OG DSB, it says you upgraded 0 days ago. So I'm counting that as a double. That bumps the line to 33. Thank you so much. It's only $1 to upgrade from the $5 to the $6, but I count it as twice. Super helpful. We need so many more people to do that. This is why Sony won't be pulling the trigger on Ubisoft unless they're selling IP. Yeah, Sony would want IP. They wouldn't want all those employees. Being able to hand some of that IP to some of their studios would be amazing if they actually were interested. Like getting Sucker Punch's spin on like a Ghost of on like an Assassin's Creed could be ridiculously cool, because they could basically try to create distance between Ghost of Yotei, Ghost of Tsushima, and Assassin's Creed. That could be, I mean, but again, I don't know. Tencent's probably just going to grab it all and then just gut. I mean, they're going to gut the company. Ubisoft gamers need to get used to not owning their games. Ubisoft needs to get used to not existing. Yeah, his comment was a little misrepresented. It wasn't like you'll own nothing and like it. It wasn't that extreme. No. But, yeah. Sony could give the Division to Bungie. I don't think you would want to give anything to Bungie right now. They got to figure out what in the heck they're going to do with Destiny. Bungie's got to figure out a way to be profitable, because given the market's reception to like live service PvP games, like if you look at what happened with X Defiant, I don't know, dude. I would not be putting a lot of eggs in the basket of Marathon. Michael McDonald with 17 months and a member plus. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Let me add that to the total. I'm just double checking if that was an upgrade or a renewal. I can check it on the back end because YouTube doesn't do the greatest job. Yeah, it's not telling me. I'll just do it as a 1. You let me know if it was an upgrade. 34. We never take Massive off Division. Yeah, I don't think you would want to take Massive off the Division given all the institutional knowledge and like everything they've learned over the years. So. And Jay Wright comes in with the member plus. Thank you so much. Puts us at 35. Renewal. Thank you. I appreciate that, Michael. Can't wait for quadruple A games Tencent will put out as a result of this buyout. That's so stupid. Quadruple A games. What's the best Ubi studio? Heartland didn't get shut down. It never launched. I believe the current word on the street is that Heartland is getting absorbed into the Division 3. It was never out to begin with. You can't shut down something that you don't release. Unless you mean they shut down the project. I don't think they shut down the project. I think the word on the street currently is that it's being absorbed into the Division 3. So I don't think we have any hard data on that, though. I don't. So Massive and Ivory Tower are their front runners. Yeah, I definitely think that I would say Massive is probably one of their better studios. Yuck? I don't know why you would say yuck. The survival mode that they were using as the base for Heartland was the best thing they ever added to the Division 1. It just couldn't... You can't make that a standalone game experience. I just don't think there's a way for that to survive. I played it for like 60 seconds. And I was like, yeah, this is going to go nowhere. There's just no way. There's just absolutely no way. And I'm going to give you the double dip, Fury. I'm giving you the double dip. You got credit for the first one. I'm giving you credit 2 for the upgrade. You get to count as 3. Thank you so much for upgrading to Member Plus. I know that's a pain in the rear end. They don't make it easy. I wish it was more obvious when you went to join, that like, hey, you know, we've got a, you know, a bumped up member tier. It just isn't very obvious. It's weird. I don't know why. And Stone Spire gifts a member. I know what Stone Spire is going to do. He's hoping that we can at least get to 50 today. I think he's going to bump this to 40. Yeah, he's going to bump this to 40. That's 39. He's hoping somebody drops the 10 gifted member bomb. And then I'll owe 5. That'd be a great end of the day. We hit 50, I owe 5, and we get out of here. There it is. The man, the myth, the legend, the Stone Spire. Always setting up the dunkers. Well, that one went to Evidence. Good to see you, Evidence. I think you were saying something in chat earlier. I think I missed it. What did Evidence say earlier? Go to channel? Why can't I see his channel activity when I click on his name? That's weird. Because probably because he's not currently saying something. That's super bizarre. Deck 9 had layoffs too. Imagine if Redfall was created by Sucker Punch. I don't know if I would have put them in charge of Redfall. Joker Quinn gifts a member. Whoever made Lost Crown and Rayman is best Ubi studio. Let me bump this to 41. Thank you so much, Joker Quinn. Yeah, Lost Crown was really good. Yeah. Rayman Legends was fun too. Oh, and it went to Garrett Green. Good to see you get a green one there. Good to see you get your green name back, Garrett. Okay. All right, 2 minutes. We are bailing and going to writer's room in 2 minutes. Okay. Imagine if Gordon Ramsay were in charge of making my Pop-Tarts and Hilly just types raw in all caps lock. I still play Rayman Origins and Legends on my Vita. Rayman Legends was really fun. My wife and I played a lot of that co-op back in the day. I remember we had a really good time with it. We really, really did. You guys got 60 seconds if you want to slam home any more gifteds or super chats. And thank you guys for over 300 likes. A special thank you today to everybody that's doing fan funding and super chats. Joker Quinn, Sneaky Wolf, D-Dizzle and James for renewing your memberships. Duff and Demetrius with super chats. Miyako, Best Girl, Noberto, and Lee Stills, OG DSB, OG Omar. Thank you, Patrick Q, for gifting. John Always and David Hudat for renewing. Stone Spire for gifting. JW takes home, I believe, the biggest member bombs today. He did 2 5s in a row. Thank you, Mark M, for your super chat. Coey, Otavio, MTO for member renewals. Alex Witter for gifting. Adam and Fury and RPG and Michael and Jay Wright for memberships, as well as just those consistent single gifts from Stone Spire all day long, along with Joker Quinn. I don't think there's the last question coming in from Liquid Smoke. Yeah, I don't think there's a guild yet for PoE 2. I told you guys have got to make that and manage it. You don't want me to make it. Yeah, you don't want me to do that. Because I'm not going to play nearly as much as you guys. Even if I can get my wife into the game with the Ranger or a subclass that's like easier for her to get into, because I think Mercenary was going to be a little too complicated for her. Even if I get her into the game, I'm not going to play enough to like manage a guild. You guys are going to have to manage it. So let me give you guys a link. Oh, we created one? Okay, great. Yeah, you guys can get that in the Discord. Let me give you guys a link and I'll redirect you to the writer's room. If you're not a member, you didn't get gifted a member, or you're not paying for membership, consider supporting the channel directly. I do this full time. And it's not because the channel's large. It's not because the channel gets crazy views. It's because we have really, really great and consistent support. So continue to do that. It opens up a lot of doors for us, and it really makes it easy for us to do extra content. I'm going to spam a link in chat. You would love Infinity Nikki more. You've never interacted with my wife if you think that. Thanks so much for being a member to my channel. You've either watched my channel enough to get a gifted member, or you're paying for your own membership. Just a reminder, double check the member tier that you are on. Some people got knocked back down to standard membership, and we really need as many people as possible at Member Plus or VIP. So consider upgrading. Go there to the membership page, change your perks or your tier, and bump up. That is really, really helpful. We don't like having to rely so much on gifted memberships. It's just such a huge, huge aspect of what we do here, and we really want to see some of that migration. So thank you to everybody who has done that. I'm going to end the previous stream and redirect folks over. And then I will change that thumbnail because we are no longer live.